Good evening and welcome everyone. It's March 9th, 7:01 p.m. All trustees are present and Claire from Mountain View High School, our student trustee, is present. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. So next we have a public comment on on the closed session. Is that correct? We have public comment on an item on closed session. So I'd like to call out Paul Kendall, please.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Paul Candell. I'm a Mountain View resident of 20 years, a high school journalism advisor in the Bay Area for 30 years, a former National Journalism Teacher of the Year, a member of the board of the Journalism Education Association of Northern California. I see that Olson versus MVLA was on your closed session agenda. I hope that you did the right thing and instructed your attorneys to settle the case on terms favorable to the plaintiff, because otherwise we're going to lose, we're going to waste a lot of money. I came to you almost 3 years ago to warn you about the legal risk involved in Mountain View High School reassigning your established journalism advisor. I told you it was illegal, that it was educationally unsound, that it was embarrassing to see you back a principal who was so out of bounds. MVLA didn't alter course then, and here are the results so far. You've been paying lawyers for 3 years in a case they should have told you they will lose. Now, last month, the legal precedent has been set in a parallel case in San Francisco that you need to know about. San Francisco Superior Court judge ruled that the San Francisco Unified School District, what they did was illegal, and ordered advisor Eric Gustafson returned to his classroom. The judge said that the district's arguments, which are the same as your arguments, were not credible. Tomorrow, the judge in Olson versus MVLA is holding a trial setting conference, at which point MVLA begins to sink even more money into a lost cause. Please do the right thing and reverse course, settle the case. To do otherwise is a pedagogical embarrassment to all of us and fiscal dereliction of duty. I know you have an option to reopen your closed session later tonight. If you've made the wrong choice here, I hope you will reopen it and save us all a lot of embarrassment and money. Thank you.
So moved.
Okay. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Edmund. Claire, how do you vote?
I approve.
Lucy, how do you vote?
I approve.
Now I have a report on action taken as it was.
We do. Thank you. If it's all right, I'd like to welcome Jaden up now. So Alta Vista presents one special student for the entire 2025-26 school year before our MVLA Board of Representatives. And we recognize this award recipient on campus as the Alta Vista ASSEC Student of the Year. And you'll see that in our assembly on March 19th. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize senior Jaden Tamimi. In each of his 3 full school years with us at Alta Vista, Jaden has been recognized with an ASSEC Achievement Award, which is our Student of the Week. And as he nears graduation, Jaden was the overwhelmingly strong selection to be awarded this honor tonight. There are so many qualities and characteristics as a learner and human that make Jaden exceptional. I had to write him down to limit myself tonight. I could go on forever. However, to tell you about Jaden, Jaden attended his first in-person high school experiences and classes with us at Alta Vista and earned his first high school credit with us in the fall of 10th grade. From this very start, Jaden said that his friends at Alta Vista gave him reassurance and reminded him that he can get it done. He can get it done at Alta, and he's been on the steady path to success ever since. Jaden says Alta Vista has helped to support him and show students that not getting it done the first time does not mean you're a failure. Jaden's effort and consistency stand out year after year. He's a school leader on the Alta Vista volleyball, football, and basketball teams, and also a leader in our larger school community. He's curious and engaged in the classroom, making meaningful contribution. As his English teacher, Mr. Phillips, said, Jaden is a great example of how to do high school. He prioritizes the things that he loves, like sports, friends, and following his passions. Mr. Louie, who knows Jaden well from lunchtime sports and helping coach our athletic league games, said that Jaden has shown remarkable growth throughout the years. Jaden's developed into a confident student who consistently sets a positive example for his peers, thanks to his maturity, responsibility, and willingness to support others. Now, speaking more about the future, only months from high school graduation and looking toward what's next, Jaden has set goals for himself. Jaden knows he wants to save as much money as he can so he doesn't have to worry about finances as he takes classes at Foothill College, or he might be excited about learning more about HVAC or another trade. While Jaden is a caring member of his Alta Vista family, he also values his strong connections with his family and loved ones at home. You can see some of those here tonight. Jaden lives with his grandpa, who has been a very active partner with staff at school. And Jaden also values special moments with his dad, attending car shows, camping trips, and other family gatherings and dinners. About family time, and I love that Jaden shared this with me, he says, pause.
Guess we have some extra commentary tonight.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. We keep going. We proceed. Good practice, right? Okay. While Jaden's a caring member of the Alta Vista family, he also values connections with his family and loved ones at home. So we were speaking about family, and Jaden said something that I loved. He said that he feels like that family, that's what lasts, not the material things. Also, Jaden's father wants Jaden to know that his entire family is so proud of him, and I'll just read pieces of this, but you have the complete. Dad also said, Jaden's done it all on his own, and I have never once had to even speak to him about school. He's just an awesome young man. And Jaden wanted to share to Dad and Grandpa, thank you for being supportive and always helping me keep my head up all the time. And now, this is very good. I've been sharing this with staff at school. I hope you're all right with this, Jaden. I'd like to close with 2 tips from Jaden on how he keeps striving forward. His first tip for high school and life success is firm and very practical. And we could all learn something here. Jaden advises, well, make sure you go to bed at 9 o'clock. If you go to bed early, you wake up early and you get to school on time. And if everybody would listen to this, so much success. I know, I know. Now, this one I really love, and whether or not you know Jaden's personal story or just thinking about life. Jaden says, secondly, as he thinks about the ups and downs and the seasons of life, he advises us that life is only precious because it ends. You have to make the most of it, you know? You have to believe in yourself and keep having that hope that the next season will come along. Jaden, your possibilities are limitless, and your resilience and your genuine curiosity in life and learning will propel you forward. Congratulations.
Jaden, what an honor to be Student of the Year. We've already heard a few words from you, but would you like to say a few words more to the board? Share more of your wisdom.
I don't know. I just said thank you, I guess. I'm not really sure what to say, but thank you, I guess. I'm not sure.
That's yes.
First, this is my little cousin. His name's Zai.
Oh,
My grandma right there, and I have my dad over there. I have my uncle Mesby, my auntie Catherine, my grandpa, and my godfather.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Why didn't they have a dog?
All right. And now we have another Student of the Year, this time from the adult school, introduced by, I believe, Julie Vo.
Thank you. And it's always a pleasure to introduce MVLA Adult Schools Student of the Month, who is also our Student of the Year. And I'd like to invite him up right now. His name is Chung Norbu Hakrin Lama. Now, Chung Norbu Pakrin Lama is a shining example of an adult student who has achieved success through great determination and focus. Chung was born in Nepal and came to the U.S. with the hope of building a better future for himself and his family. When he first arrived, he faced many challenges, especially with the English language. Although he believed he could communicate, he soon came to realize that his English was very limited. Because of this, he struggled to express himself and often felt confused and discouraged. However, he never gave up because he knew education was the key to achieving his goals. Some friends introduced him to MVLA Adult School, so he decided to visit the school to get more information. The staff encouraged him to begin with ESL classes, and he enrolled right away. He worked hard to improve his English, and after only a few months, he moved into the GED program. During this time, his mother suffered a serious fall that caused a severe head injury. As a result, she has been paralyzed on one side for the past 2 years and is fully dependent on his care. Chung became her primary caregiver, which made continuing school very challenging. But with encouragement from his teacher, Mr. Charles over here, he found the strength to continue and successfully earn his GED. While caring for his mother, Chung saw nurses and physical therapists help her with kindness and compassion. Their care inspired him to pursue a career in healthcare. After completing the GED, he continued his studies with medical terminology, CNA, and HHA certifications. Chung is now currently enrolled at Mission College, taking Bio 22 as his next step towards the licensed vocational nursing program. Chung is a dedicated student and a caregiver with strong goals to serve others. He hopes to continue his education so that he could provide the same compassion and care to others that has meant so much to his family. His educational goal is to build a strong career in healthcare so that he can serve our community while creating a stable future for his family. His plan is to become an LVN and continue his education to earn his RN license. Healthcare has always interested him, and as it allows him to help people during their most vulnerable moments. Through his studies and hands-on training, he hopes to grow into a compassionate and skilled nurse who makes a positive difference in patients' lives. Chung's educational journey has not been easy. He has faced many personal challenges that has tested his persistence, determination, and commitment to education. One of the most difficult challenges was when his mother became sick. During this time, he also struggled with financial difficulties and had to work while continuing his studies. Balancing family responsibilities, work, and school was overwhelming at times, but he never gave up. Even with these obstacles, he successfully completed the GED, the CNA, and HHA programs. These experiences taught him resilience, time management, and the importance of perseverance, especially during hard times. If he's not busy enough, community service is also very important to Chung, and he believes in giving back because it strengthens both individuals and communities. He regularly participates in volunteer work through his church and at the Second Harvest of Silicon Valley, where he helps with packaging food for families in need. This volunteer work has helped him to develop compassion, teamwork, and a deeper understanding of the struggles many people face. Serving others brings him joy and motivates him to continue his work in healthcare. Please give a hand for Chung.
Chung, what an inspiration. You have overcome so many obstacles to be here, and you're giving back to your community as well. Do you have any words you would like to say to the board?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I have so much things to say, but Miss Judy already told that my English is limited. And I used to hear the phrase, nothing is impossible. Today, it's truly proven that nothing is impossible. I was a man who started from ESL at MVLA adult school. And with the support of my teachers and my family, my friends, I enrolled in GED program, and then I successfully completed that program. After that, I joined medical terminology. I did that, CNA and HHA. Those times, it was so hard to me and understanding all those things. But if you try those things, the formula was that nothing was impossible. I'm truly honored and grateful to be considered for this Student of the Year award. As an adult learner, it was not easy to come back to school because their family and their responsibilities. So yet, I did not give up my dreams, goals. Adult school has taught me that learning has no age limit. With the support of my teachers, again, classmates, stops at my family. I learn not only knowledge, but compassion. I learn many things and hope for the future. This journey reminded me that hard work, persistence, and believing in yourself can open new door at any stage of life. Today, I share this recognition with everyone here who keep moving forward despite challenges. Thank you very much for trusting me and giving me this second opportunity for my life. Thank you so much.
And Chung has brought some family members with him.
Oh, great. Please come on up, family members. All right, so next we move on to 8.0, communications, and then 8.1, board member reports. Please raise your hand if you have a board member report, and I will call on you. Catherine.
Well, I'll let Alex tell you more about it, but we went to DLAC, which is the group of people that parents don't speak English for the most part, or didn't originally. And they depend on extra support from the school system. And we heard presentations by the administration to them about how different things work in a public school setting in the United States, and particularly in California and locally. And some of their questions were answered, and it was very eye-opening to us to hear about it. And Alex will tell you more about her opinions about it, having to do with the fact that she was originally an immigrant from one country to another and brought back some things to her. And for me, it was eye-opening in terms of learning about the kinds of issues and situations people have when they come here and we integrate them into our system.
Okay, Alex.
Predetermined. So this was a very illuminating meeting. So first I want to extend a thank you to the administration for having these meetings. They're clearly critical, and having us be present at these meetings. I think they're extremely important. It was very clear that the parents in that particular community have language challenges and have challenges in figuring out how do you sort of work with the district here? How do you do the right thing for their students? What to even prioritize? How exactly to do it? And so the challenges, I think, are bigger, and there is more of them than the general population of parents who were born here and are accustomed to the systems or who speak the language. The other piece that was quite illuminating was the presentation about how we actually teach students who are not English speakers, so the English learners, ELD, the different levels we have, what type of things are being taught. And as Catherine mentioned, it did remind me of my own experience in sixth grade moving countries, and how you basically sit in class and you don't really understand what the teacher is talking about. You get an assignment, you get a test, and you have no idea what it says. You're very lucky if it's a math formula and you get it. Otherwise, you just have no idea. And of course, for me, it was sixth grade, so it was elementary school. So it was sort of like relatively easy to catch up and figure it out within a few years, versus now this is high school and it's much more high-paced environment. So I do have a lot of thoughts about what type of support could be interesting, but probably not to discuss right now, but maybe more for me to sit down with Terry to better understand what we do and if I have any other ideas. But it is extremely important in this whole meeting really explained why we see the gaps and differences in performance that we do. It is, to be honest, in my opinion, has nothing to do with academic skill set. It is about understanding language. That's all it is, and we need to treat it accordingly. So yeah, thank you again to the administration for having this. This is critical, and I'm very excited to attend these and really look forward to understanding more.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so I have a board report. I attended a gala where MVLA received the first Community Partnership Award from the Community School of Music and Arts, or CSMA. CSMA teaches an artistic intelligence class for neurodivergent students in our adult transition program. I was impressed by the students' artwork, which was really had a wide variety of subjects and content, and really it was about artistic expression. And thank you to our special education director, Jennifer Smith. I don't know if she's there in the audience, but and to Jay from the Adult Transition Program, who accepted the award on behalf of MVLA. And we also have an amazing art program for our general education students, but I think for our special education students, it's particularly important because a study from the National Endowment of the Arts found that participation in the arts in high school supports both social, emotional, and academic success. So I want to encourage all of our students to take art. And I also want to thank our special education class for including neurodivergent students in art. And I hope we continue expanding those opportunities. I also attended Challenge Team, where we heard a very informative presentation on ADHD. Two things stood out to me. Girls are often underidentified because they may mask their symptoms. Students from some ethnic groups are also underidentified because of stereotypes and myths about ADHD. As you probably know, ADHD is a different way the brain processes the world. If you think ADHD may be creating barriers to your education, you can contact the special education department. If you're not ready to do that, a trusted teacher is a good first step. We also heard about the City of Mountain View's homelessness initiatives and investments. We appreciate our partnership with the city. If you're a student experiencing homelessness, including couch surfing or living in an RV, please reach out to an adult on campus. We have adults dedicated to supporting you. Last but not least, I served on the Hoffman Awards Committee this year. These are the Santa Clara County School Boards Association's annual awards, recognizing innovative programs that make a significant difference for students. The winners will be announced at a ceremony on March 13th. I highly encourage trustees to attend because each honoree is introduced with a video highlighting the program. The scoring process was very thoughtfully designed by our committee chair, Anya O'Donovan. We've almost finishing visiting school sites, which is the last step of the process. The experience has been incredibly inspiring, and I came away with notes to share. After the ceremony, because obviously I can't share the awardees until after the ceremony, I plan to share what I learned from any high school awardees, but I'll do it one per board report. And that concludes my board report. Thank you. So next we move on to 8.2, which is our student board member reports, and we'll start with Lucy this time.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm excited to share a few highlights from campus that reflect the energy and engagement of our students as we move into the spring. First, our school is preparing for the Clash of the Classes Rally and Spirit Week, which has shifted from last year's night rally to a daytime rally, so it's going to be during school. Students from each grade level will participate in friendly competitions, themed dress-up days, and rally activities to celebrate school spirit and bring our campus community together. Events like these give students a chance to build connections across grade levels while showing pride in their class and school. We've also recently completed a few additional incoming freshman tours where we welcomed prospective students and families to campus. Student leaders played a major role in guiding these tours, sharing their experiences and helping future students get a sense of what life is like here. And it was a great opportunity for our current students to demonstrate leadership while helping the next class begin to imagine their place in our school community. Another exciting new initiative happening this week is our first ever Eagle Talent Show, which will take place this Friday in the evening. This event is being organized and hosted by students in ASB and will showcase a wide range of talents such as music and dance and other performances. We'll even have, I think, 1 or 2 teachers performing. Because this is the first time we're putting on this event, there's a lot of excitement around building what we hope will be a new campus tradition that celebrates creativity and student expression. Recently, we also wrapped up our Students March Madness basketball tournament, which brought together teams from across campus in a fun and competitive series of games throughout the week. The tournament concluded alongside one of our popular Blue Friday Spirit Days, where students dressed in our school colors to show their pride. Finally, as we move further into the semester, spring sports are now fully underway. We have had our first few meets and games, and our student athletes are competing across a wide variety of sports, representing our school with dedication and teamwork, both on and off the field. And we are excited to continue supporting them through their seasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy from Los Altos High School. Does the board have any questions or comments for Lucy? All right, let's move on to Claire from Mountain View High School.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I'm happy to share a few highlights from this past month at MVHS and recognize the many accomplishments across our campus community. ASB elections have concluded, and the newly elected students are listed on the MVHS ASB Instagram. Notably, Kapil Shastri will serve as the next school board representative. Similarly to Los Altos, ASB also hosted the annual Spartan Madness tournament, where hundreds of students filled the big gym daily to cheer on 16 competing teams. The student minion team won the tournament, with MVHS teachers taking victory in the final exhibition game. Winter athletics wrapped up with strong performances across all teams. Boys varsity soccer earned the title of CCS champions, and the Mountain View girls wrestling team became league champions, alongside many other winter teams that contributed to an exciting and competitive season. We look forward to carrying this momentum into the spring. Throughout February, students engaged in Black History Month through daily announcements and a collaborative workshop hosted by Ambassadors, BSU, and Justice Vanguard featuring artist Masood Alufani, who explored the Black diaspora through art. Ambassadors also hosted a transfer picnic and are preparing for Mental Health Awareness Week, which will be from March 16th to 19th, and their upcoming Copa soccer tournament. Student groups continue to thrive as well, including Madrigal's successful Heartbeat concert and ongoing club events featuring panels, guest speakers, and community engagement. Overall, it's been an eventful and exciting month for many groups on our campus, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Claire. Does the board have any questions or comments for Claire? All right. Oh,
I have
Esme
one
does.
question. Did you announce the new school board members? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Can you, maybe it's a question for you or maybe for the superintendent. What is the process that?
For the new school board representative?
Yeah. How is that determined or selected?
Oh, selected?
Yeah.
It's an elected position, so the students get to vote, and then that combined with teacher feedback through forms is how we choose the next student representative.
Yeah. I realized I did not know that and was wondering.
Well, we'll miss you next year, Claire. All right, so moving on, we move on to our superintendent's report.
Good evening. We are excited to announce that tomorrow we will be having our March professional learning session where each department and every teacher has chosen a focal student. And we've been working on implementing our constructing meaning strategies. And this is the second round. Last year we did that in the spring, and we're very, very excited to implement our CER lesson with a focal student. So we look forward to that. And there are about 8 different training sessions going on tomorrow. So I will try to make sure I can stop by each and every single session, because we have our classified staff member training, we have district office training, a lot going on. And today I had the greatest pleasure of celebrating one of our students who used to attend Mountain View, but now is at Alta Vista. And I want to celebrate Oscar de la Cruz. He immigrated from Guatemala, and he lives with his brother. And Suzanne Wolfolk and Dr. Morelli have been working on making sure that the student is on track to graduate. And I think that this is a great example of how Comprehensive Site works together with our sister school to ensure that students who may not have the traditional learning background could still be successful. So I got, Ms. Wolfolk got to announce that over the loudspeaker, and we went and celebrated his success. We continue to use and implement different technology tools on our campus, and we have been using Minga to ensure our students are attending tutorial sessions and taking advantage of those times. And since we have been announcing and sending messages to our parents, our attendance rate to our tutorial period has gone up by 70%. And we're very proud to say that we would like to see our students using that time to improve their academic success. Lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to Mr. Fishstrom and some of our tech internship students who attended our EdTech committee meeting to talk about possibly recommending some draft AI policy. And we had a great discussion, and Clara was one of those students. So there is a lot going on at Mountain View High School. Thank you.
Next up, Alta Vista, Ms. Wolfolk.
Thank you. I know you've all been on campuses in the springtime, and to say that it can just speed by, there's so much going on and it's very exciting. I can't understate that. So I thought I'd pick a common theme tonight of thinking after June, right? The post-secondary, what's exciting about it. So Alta Vista High School has had college theme. It is in the air. Everyone is feeling it, especially as we have had seniors nearing or already graduating this senior year. Tomorrow we'll be taking 45 of our 10th and 11th graders to Foothill College. If you're not aware, it is a fabulous thing that's happening tomorrow, a college fair. At last I checked with Simon Pennington, we had 108, and I think a wait list of more colleges that will be gathered together in one spot. And I believe we have Avid and other students across the district attending. So our 10th and 11th graders will be taking part in the college fair at Foothill College tomorrow. Also, our seniors began last Friday the info session that begins their registration for Foothill College. You may be aware, but every April, all of the Alta Vista seniors become Foothill College students, taking their first Foothill College course on the Alta Vista campus. We also obviously prepare them with FAFSA and other things throughout the year to get ready for next year as well. And then one thing, since we're speaking about college, we are excited about a new senior English course that came through in the fall semester, but we are still moving forward with an option for seniors that will be a dual enrolled English 1A. We're very excited about that. Thank you.
From Adult Education, Ms. Vo.
Hello again. And As the Director of Adult Education, I am elated to share that our Student of the Year from last year, I don't know if you remember her, Anne Raywald, has recently passed the NCLEX and is now officially a board certified RN. And Anne sent our whole team an email stating, quote, "I'm still in disbelief that I passed, but I guess it's true. I wanted to keep you updated and express my gratitude again for everything you did for me. I wouldn't have finished this process if I hadn't met you. Thank you so much for your support and for believing in me. This is outstanding news, and we are so proud of her." And then what we're currently working on, in the past few weeks, we've been working on developing new and expanding existing employment partnerships. Francisco, our CTE coordinator, and I recently participated in a site visit with administrators over at ProHealth. We met with the medical and the home care departments, and ProHealth has now graciously agreed to host externships from our new integrated education and training medical office clerk training program. And this will provide our English learners with valuable work-based learning experience in a medical office. We're always expanding our medical programs. And then also in looking to the future, I'm excited to share that the North Santa Clara County Consortium of Adult Education, on which Jonathan and I serve on the leadership board, are currently working on a consortium plan to apply for $3 million for round 3 of the ELL Healthcare Pathways Grant. And the vision is to create the NSCCC Center of Health Sciences, which will be a regional multi-agency alliance designed to provide coordinated, accessible, and equitable pathways for adult English language learners with little to no college experience. And the NSC Center of Health Sciences will also serve as, is also designed to provide coordinated, accessible, and equitable pathways for adult English language learners to advance in their healthcare careers. And what's nice about this partnership is there will be no wrong door. Students can enter through any of our systems, any of our 3 adult school partners or our 2 community colleges, and they will enter the pathway of health sciences and hopefully have reserved spots in nursing programs. And one of our schools is also working on creating an additional LVN program where students like Chung, you met tonight, can transition to. So thank you for your time.
Dr. Ranieri. Los Altos High School.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start out by honoring Dr. Glazer and just recognizing her amazing achievement with her new book, Ready to Lead with AI. I love that her book is Mountain View Colors, and I really believe that when any of us do something exceptional, it helps the entire district. And so I just want to shout out this accomplishment and thank her for all her work. So good job. In terms of school highlights for Los Altos, we had our annual freshman poetry slam during ACT where students performed powerful spoken word poetry in front of their peers. And it's always amazing to see freshmen get up on stage in the theater in front of, their friends and just share their art with the rest of the school. And it really is a testament to our 9th grade English teachers for the work they do in that unit on poetry. Our Advanced Science Investigation, or ASI class, just returned from a science conference that's held at the Barton Science Center at Tonbridge School. And that's in the UK. And our students shared their original research projects and findings with students there. And the Tonbridge School students had visited Los Altos High on October 20th of this year. So we were really happy that they were able to reciprocate and visit that school. Community engagement for our students is something that we're always looking for, and we were lucky enough to have the senior planner from the city of Los Altos visit our Principals Advisory Council last month to gather input from our teens in the drafting of their general plan, which maps out the next 20 years for the city. And our students provided input on the items they would like to see, like more parking, more walkable areas, clear bike lanes and sidewalks, and then more teen-oriented exercise gyms and retail businesses. And so the city will continue to solicit input from teens, and they may create a social media contest with some prizes for students to share their ideas about how they'd like to see Los Altos now and in the future. We also have professional learning this month. Looking forward to our teachers doing peer observations of best instructional strategies. And finally, in terms of student well-being, we collect monthly data on our visits to the Wellness Center. And in the 15 days of February, we had 66 student visits. 45% of those students were seniors. The next highest number by grade level was 25% with our freshman class. And in the month of February, 30 of our students signed up for one or more of the 3 activities that included self-regulation and grounding practice, healthy self-talk and affirmation messaging, and expressions of gratitude. And lastly, our students in SCL hosted our annual Break the Stigma event in late January to raise awareness about teenage mental health. And this event brought together 8 mental health organizations, including Youth Community Services, or YCS, to help connect students to in and out of school resources and help eliminate the stigma of mental health challenges and promote student well-being. Thank you.
And I'll just conclude thanking members of the MSAC committee. 2 very prominent members are right here with us for their insights. Last meeting, we had a very heartfelt conversation about what the students thought MVLA needed to do to improve students. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that later to improve student success. And then the other thing is I want to thank the school sites, principals, assistant principals, along with adult education, HR, and ed services. They've spent quite a amount of time in the last couple of weeks trying to address the bubble of students that are going to be taking health next year and over the next 3 years. And a lot of impact on the master scheduling, as you know, as well as some special unique thinking in order to accommodate students here on site. And then depending on what happens later tonight for those that don't want to go outside. So I just really want to let you all know how hard they've been working to address the change in graduation requirements starting next year. And then we'll move on to.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to district organizations. I don't see anyone in the audience. Nope. So let's move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. All right, so we have Evan Torrey.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Evan Torrey. I have 2 children attending MVHS. This is the 3rd time that I've come to speak to you on the topic of the school district's actions with respect to the board's decision to retroactively change the ethnic studies requirement from 1 year to 1 semester. Last meeting, I spoke about the urgent need for a student option to take a mandatory health 5-unit class instead of an elective ethnic studies 5-unit class. Despite a petition from over 30 parents and Vice President Katz's valiant efforts at the last board meeting, no option was provided prior to the February 13th withdrawal deadline. In addition, during last month's board meeting, Dr. Julie Vaux stated that she had 50 places available at the adult school for students to take health this semester, and could likely have added another 50 if she'd been asked to hire another teacher. Also, the 16 years or older requirement was not specified anywhere under the law or California Education Code, but was purely a choice by the district, to which I'm told exceptions have been made in the past. I believe that any neutral observer of last year's vigorous debate over ethnic studies in this very room should have realized that there was strong pent-up demand from students and parents for a more useful course to replace the elective second semester of ethnic studies, a course such as the mandatory health semester required of all students. Perhaps if the administration had been more proactive by, one, consulting with the MVLA adult school to understand the real parameters around allowing ninth graders to take health this semester, and two, run the standard lottery system for oversubscribed classes for students interested in replacing ethnic studies by health, then another 100 students in classes of 27, 28, 29 could have been accommodated this very semester to take the vitally important health class in MVLA's own district, as President Cornish requested at the last board meeting. So why did the school district post such a tardy, unhelpful, and frankly, in many parents' opinions, obfuscatory parent square posting, which appeared to dissuade as many students as possible from dropping the elective second semester? Well, a very highly placed source of impeccable veracity in the MVLA school district administration talked directly with me and pointed the finger quite clearly at a group of smart, young, and passionate teachers as being upset with the board's 2025 decision rolling back the ethnic studies requirement to one semester. When I suggested that this was hardly a good reason to put up barriers preventing students from exercising their choices given to them by the board, and that some would consider this unprofessional behavior on the part of these teachers, the same source responded with, "I would not disagree." So please, board members, I ask you to remember this incident caused by what seems to be a decision to prioritize the feelings of certain teachers over the choices of the board, parents, and students. Remember this incident the next time parents ask to return to teaching world history for a full year to ninth graders instead of one semester of ethnic studies, because that topic will no doubt come around again. In fact, given the parlous state of the state resulting in lack of funding for AB 101, the Board of Trustees at Poway Unified in Southern
Sorry,
California.
Mr. Torres, you're out of time.
I apologize.
Just to be fair to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Okay. So now we move on to 9.0, which is recognitions and resolutions. So we have our annual resolution for National Women's History Month. I will not read it unless anyone would like to. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we consider a motion? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I feel like Vadim should do it because we're women and he's might
You
want to make a
can.
motion.
Okay.
I will gladly motion.
All right, moved by Vadim. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Catherine. All right. Claire, how do you vote?
I approve.
Lucy, how do you vote?
I approve.
Board, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, next we move on to 10.0, presentations, reports, and information. And then 10.1, which is the MVLA Adult School Annual Board Presentation. Presented by Director Julie Bowe.
Yes, it's Adult Ed's night tonight. I wanted to start by just thanking the board for your time, for listening to our Adult Ed stories, and I've invited my leadership team here today so you can get a sense of my team and the faces behind the school that drive the success. We're so excited to present our annual board presentation. The purpose of this board presentation, again, is to provide you with an overview of our WASC School-Wide Action Report, as well as a report on the progress in each academic core program. And then we're going to share some notable highlights, and we'll try to keep it moving very quickly. Before I begin, I would like to introduce my team. I'm going to first start with our Assistant Director, Jonathan Fu, and our ESL Coordinator, Ms. Jessica Bitt, our Adult Secondary Education High School Diploma GED Coordinator, Mr. Charles Smith, and our Career Technical Education Coordinator, Mr. Francisco J. Preciado. Now, for our board members and the public, we've linked and also published for you our annual data report, and that way you could review that prior to the meetings if you have questions. Hopefully you had a chance to review it already. And within this report, it goes over all the data that we use, the metrics we've identified to measure the effectiveness in each program. And then before I begin, I just ask if you could refrain from asking your questions till the end of the presentation, and that will keep things very concise and cohesive. Here we have our mission statement, and thank you for approving our revised mission statement, as well as our school-wide learner outcomes. And we think it's important to contextualize and refresh on the mission and our school-wide learner outcomes, so you can see how they're aligned to our school-wide action goals and the initiatives that we put into place over the past year. This overview is an overview of the prior year. That's a requirement of WASC. Now here is a broad view of what enrollment looked like last year. Overall duplicated enrollment was 5,158 across all programs. As you can see, there was a slight increase in the ESL and ASC, high school diploma and GED enrollments, and CTE. And with unduplicated enrollment, it shows a slight decrease in HSD, although that's remained relatively stable. Next, you see here MVLA's framework for student success. So where this plan sits is along with our WASC, our CAPE plan, and our WIOA federal continuous improvement plan. All of these are aligned to our district board goals, as well as our consortium goals through the North Santa Clara County Adult Ed. Okay, and as a refresher, WASC stands for the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. So WASC accreditation is our ongoing cycle of improvement and self-study, and we use these results to make continuous improvements to our program and our school. And then these are the three overarching large goals of our school-wide action plan, which are related to assessment, alignment, and increasing access of student services at our school. Now each of our program coordinators will report on their department's progress towards these goals. We're going to start with Ms. Jessica Bitt, who will provide you with an update on ESL.
So here you can see our ESL and citizenship classes in action. So as you can see at all levels, we provide many opportunities for students to practice speaking and listening skills, as well as those skills that are vital in the workforce and for active participation in the greater community. And our citizenship classes are at capacity as students want the rights, responsibilities, and opportunities that citizenship will provide them. And here are some highlights from our ESL program in the 24-25 school year. So for assessment preparation, we use LaCasa's STEPS test, which is our standardized reading test. And our assessment results indicated that vocabulary was the greatest challenge for students. So our department created paper and online materials to specifically prepare students for employment-related vocabulary on the CASAS test using similar question phrasing as the test. And second, course outlines. Teachers are trained to use new course outlines to align their classes with the English language proficiency standard and to make promotion decisions. And lastly, the rigor of our core ESL classes was increased, resulting in more students transitioning into our integrated education and training, IET, program classes. In the 23-24 school year, 7 students transitioned, and in the 24-25 school year, 20 students transitioned. And here are our WASC goals and progress towards these goals in the 24-25 school year. We focused on using technology tools to assist students and teachers with formative assessment. And we also train students in the technology skills that they will need to succeed as they transition into further education through our EL Civics unit about digital communication. And next, Charles Smith will report on the HSD GED program.
Good evening. This past year, has been representative of MVLA adult schools and our students' commitment to academic rigor, achievement, persistence, and growth. In the past year, our students have been recognized and named various scholarship winners, have participated and collaborated in meaningful performance and standards-based projects and classroom instruction, have been recognized by state officials for their persistence in pursuit of their educational goals, and most recently participated in our GED and Spanish class, which we launched during the 2024-2025 school year, and which has tripled in size this year. In this class, students receive instruction in Spanish from two highly qualified, fully credentialed teachers. This year, we have seen a rise in all adult secondary education enrollment, which includes both GED and high school diploma. More students, adult learners, are opting for to take the GED as opposed to receive a high school diploma, which is evidenced by our increased completion rates during the 2024-2025 school year. Even though this trend marks a shift in our population, we are still fully committed to both programs to ensure we're meeting the academic needs of all the members within our community, regardless of which educational pathway they choose. We continue to serve high school students as part of our summer school. And our most popular class, of course, is health. And we served 104 more students during the 2024-2025 school year than the previous year. And I just wanted to mention quickly about that our California contemporary health class, which we offer through the EdX program on the Edgenuity platform, is fully compliant with the California Healthy Youth Act and integrates expanded curriculum that promotes student interaction and performance-based assessment. And so I just wanted to make sure I mention that. On the next slide, you can see the progress that we continued to make last year towards our goal of using assessment results to make improvements in class and program, and refining our class and lessons to ensure standards-based instruction. One example of our first goal is that we built in-staff development time to review GED ready tests to assess students' learning levels and identify students who are ready to transition both internally and beyond the GED program. One step we are taking to progress towards our second goal is that we ensure all GED lessons have a clear stated objective that's aligned with the college and career readiness standards for adult education. And annually, we review all of our independent study course outlines to ensure that they're aligned with the California Common Core state standards. And now I would like to introduce Francisco Preciado, who is our career and technical education coordinator.
Thank you, Charlie. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay. All right, so on the top left, we have our largest CNA class for the summer of 2025. We have about 20 students, which is the biggest since the pandemic. On the top right, we have our eye care technician class for fall 2025. And we also welcome our new instructor, Nelson Cerrone. On the bottom, we have our medical assistant class for summer 2025, also with 20 students. 6 of these summer graduates were referred by the ESL and Integrated Education Training Program, which shows that the pathway from ESL into healthcare is working. All right, so for this slide here, our medical assistant program had a 100% national certification for medical assisting passing rate for 2024, 2025. The average is about 50 to 60%, so we're doing very well there. Our CNA students achieve a 96% passing rate for the credential skills exam, which is an increase from last year. 5 CTE students received special recognition from Assembly Member Mark Berman during the spring graduation ceremony. Nova Works reported a 100% hiring rate for MVLA adult school graduates, and so did Work the Future. The average wage for ESL to CTE students is $29, which is $10 above the minimum wage for Mountain View. Our health science enrollments increased by 90%, and our information technology enrollments also increased by 17%. This slide shows our enrollment by industry sector. There was a slight increase in health science by the medical technology classes. There was a slight decrease in business and finance classes from the 2022-2024 school year to 2024-2025 school year. There was a slight increase in the CNA skills exams pass rates. The improvement is mostly due to the integration of an online curriculum called Facets, which helps students with their skills in CNA. There was a slight decrease in the written exam passing rates, mainly due to an increase in English language learning students coming into our CNA class. In 2024-2025, the medical assistant program had a 100% rate for their national certification exam. This is well above the national average. This year, we are focusing on using assessment results to improve our classes and programs. In the CNA program, instructors implemented targeted formative skills assessments to help students improve their skills and exam performance. In the medical assistant program, instructors use weekly formative assessment to identify students who need tutoring support. And that's it. I'm going to hand it over back to Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisco. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about our student support services and our transition services. So as we talked about previously, our third WASC action goal was to increase student awareness and access to support services at our school to promote equitable outcomes. So we've chosen to focus on 3 areas. So one of them being academic support, the next being technology support for students, and then also career and transition services. So as you can see, there's a lot of progress that we made, a lot of information on the slide. So I'll just talk about what we did in the next few slides. So we did offer a range of transition and career services last year. So as you can see from the pictures, we have a picture of our students attending a Foothill College field trip in March. And then on the bottom, we have a photo of our annual career fair. This was attended by students in our academic programs in the morning, English as a second language, CTE, and adult secondary education. We've also offered other transition services throughout the year, including employer tablings in the evenings, college workshops, and what else was there? Other consortium-wide events as well too. Okay, as far as tutoring, we can see the data over here. So we can see that as far as ESL and GED, this continues to be tutoring that a lot of our students in these programs access. Also, our ESL conversation group in the afternoons and mornings continue to be very popular with our students. Our CTE tutoring got 165 hours last year, which is double that of the previous year. A large part of that is because of the embedded tutoring support that we do for our CTE students and classes, especially supporting English language learners. So on this slide, I'll talk a little bit about our technology advocate model, which is basically our technology support for our students. So we have 3 tiers of technology support for students. So the first tier being the general technology support. This is resources on our website being tutorial videos and other tutorials. The next one being the small group support that we do. So we do small group workshops for our students. The focus for last year was helping students use Remind as well as basic email and internet support. And we are going to continue with those workshops for this year. And then in addition to that, the last tier, we have the individual support for students, where we work with students one-on-one during the Technology Advocates office hours. So looking at some of the data of the Technology Advocates, we can see that 198 students accessed Technology Advocate services last year during office hours. And then with the workshops, we can see that we offered 19 workshops to 252 students. So a lot of these support services that I mentioned really helped with the success of our students. We are going to bring back one student that we talked about earlier and give you some student success stories of some of our English language learner students in our healthcare programs.
Whether through my friends and community resources. I also researched online and visited my middle school to get more information. I learned how to learn the community newspaper that I just came years ago, and then I was studying like my English again, and then after 2 years, I got my confidence in being until they taught me that computer system, different cultures, different skills, but also one of those skills what I didn't have before, like I believe being connections, and you learn it all here in the through the program and learn strong communication, teamwork skills, gain valuable mental knowledge, and how to provide care with compassion and capacity. I also learned how meaningful it is to treat every kind with dignity and kindness. And many adults will have me a lot with the experience, with the skills, but also like meeting people and being with kids, and also meeting that amazing stuff. We're always thinking about, and you're like that. I'm like from who I learned a lot. The program helped me build confidence, enhance my English skills, and prepare for a career in healthcare. Additionally, it also provides new job opportunities. With MVLA, so it's in the clothes that we assume from that I came as international student with a thinking person, and you have questions, you will get answers, they have more effective than I. My next goal is to work in the healthcare field to gain hands-on experience and continue building my creative skills. In the future, I plan to continue my education to become an LVN or RN to provide more higher quality care and improvement in my career. At this point, I'm just thinking about it. There's like one way is nursing, and one way is what ultrasound technology. But in my like use my knowledge and build it in a way that I really find it to. I think of that time and talking to Selma 6 years ago. I would just say, go back to that building, but you're passing by every day and just say, what I need to do for them, I know what to accept.
Okay, and this slide over here, this shows Mountain View Los Altos Adult School's instructional hours in its academic programs offered through the California Adult Education Program, also known as CAPE. So what's really important about this slide is this is what the state holds us accountable for by the annual reporting of total instructional hours. So as you can see from previous years, we've been steadily increasing the instructional hours of our programs. So next, I'm going to go ahead and give this back to Julie, who's going to go ahead and end our presentation.
Okay, so fiscal solvency. I'm happy to report that our school remains in good financial health. We continue to receive the largest percentage of the overall consortium dedicated funding at 42% out of 5 schools. At year end, we maintained a healthy Cape Fund balance of 195,000 plus and received over 678,000 in additional income from federal and county grants as well as CTE fees. All adult schools are held financially accountable through the alignment of resource allocation with school and regional consortium plans that must be approved by state and federal and certified by our consortium. And in addition to maintaining fiscal solvency for the past 8 years, I'm proud to share that MVLA Adult School was one of 8 of the applicants statewide who received the $1.9 million EDD ELL Healthcare Pathways Grant for a period of 36 months. In addition to that, we applied and received 172,000 plus for the NSCCC ELL Healthcare Pathways Grant for year 1 and increased that to 220,000 plus for year 2 with it. So that's a total of additional of $2.3 million in additional state grants. And as I mentioned before, we are looking for maintaining stability, sustainability for the future. We're also applying for our consortium for that $3 million grant for round 3. So regardless of the situation with federal grants, we have a bright future at MVLA Adult Ed. And then in looking ahead, we will continue to align our school standards to the state and national standards to ensure our students are equipped with the knowledge and skills necessary to achieve their goals. I want to thank the board again for your time in actually taking the time to listen to our adult school students' voices. You can see their increased confidence, their pride in their achievements, and it means a lot that you care to listen to their stories. We will actively use data to assist student learning, monitor progress, inform instruction, and implement new strategies to improve student learning outcomes. We will increase efforts to grow awareness about the array of support services that Jonathan talked about. Those are designed to remove barriers for students to increase access to education and to ensure that they achieve equitable outcomes. And of course, we'll ensure that our resource allocation is aligned to student need. We're going through a federal program monitoring right now, and so far we're doing really well. That's going really well. And lastly, I'd like to thank again the board and our superintendent for his great leadership and his support, and for our associate superintendents who are always there for me to provide guidance, whatever arises. And lastly, you've met the leadership team. This is the strength and my pride at the adult school. I want to thank them for all of their hard work in helping students to achieve their goals, and thank our teachers and our support staff, and also to our students, because their success is really our success, and they make what we do worthwhile every day. And I just feel like I'm the luckiest person in the room because I get to work with all these people every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Catherine?
I just had a comment, and that in a couple places you decided that, from before you would like to increase the performance of the students and so on. For instance, in CTE, you integrated the facets curriculum. So, I mean, and in another case, you added something else. So how do you decide on the things you're going to add? I mean, are you doing ongoing research in CTE and in the other categories of extra tutorial or online resources you're going to use, or what?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because this is something we've been working very hard on, and it's part of our assessment goal for the WASC School-wide Action Plan. We have been reviewing assessment results regularly. And I'm going to let Francisco, our CTE coordinator, talk about how facets was selected.
One of our goals is to stay connected with the industry. We have sent our CNA instructors to seminars. We have joint webinars and kind of get the feedback from the industry of what is out there, what's new, what's what is it that the employers need, and one of them was Facets. So what the owner of Facets was promoting her product. We did some assessments, we reviewed it, and that's how we came to the conclusion that Facets was going to be the next step for us. So a lot of it is just research, working with the community and working with the industry leaders to kind of get that information.
A little bit of information on what Facets is. It's a online resource that provides skills videos for the certified nursing assistants to actually see every single step, because the credentialing body for CNAs have changed. It used to be the American Red Cross, and it did change to Credentia. And so we switched to Facets because that's aligned to Credentia. And if you look historically, because we look at these very closely, our students were always slightly lower in skills. And once we made that shift to Facets, the skills went through the roof. But now we're going to focus back on the written, right, Francis?
Yes. Another thing is that I kind of wanted to kind of understand more on how the CNA, since my background is not in the healthcare field. So what I did, actually took a CNA class and kind of learned some of the ins and outs of becoming a CNA, and Facets definitely helped me out. I believe the Facets curriculum was very strong, and I used it myself to be able to take that that state exam. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Esme?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for a very comprehensive presentation that really speaks to all the pieces that I think we should care about when we think about an adult ed program. And also just commend the increase in enrollment and completion of some of the CTE pathways. I think there's it's really important that as students complete any of our programs, they walk away with something tangible that can really set them up for post-secondary success. So just great work. I did have a comment, maybe in another question. For some of the technical support, I wonder if if it would include anything around AI and how to leverage it as a tool, potentially in addition to Remind, classroom apps, and some of the other stuff, Zoom. So maybe down the line, that might be something. And then I'll just ask my other quick small question. For a lot of the services that are for English language learners, I'm wondering if there's a reason we use ESL versus like ELD, ELL. So just curious about that.
That question first, the answer is shorter. So for ESL, that's to denote adult ed ESL learners, whereas in the high school, they use English language development, ELD. So that's the quick answer for that. In terms of AI tools and how we're leveraging those, at our annual back to school in-service, we provide a variety of workshops, and we're getting our instructors trained on AI tools, including the district adopted tools with Gemini and Brisk. We're using those for a variety of things. You can use them for lesson planning, for developing activities for class, worksheets, and so forth. So our instructors have been encouraged, and we are using those. In addition, what we found as a challenge, and I'm sure they're finding it at all high schools and colleges as well, is how do you detect that students are using AI, and are they using it in the most productive way? We came across this challenge because we've integrated a research science paper in our medical terminology class, which was not required before. It's a college level class for ELL learners. And one of the challenges was, as they were writing research papers, to not pull whole passages from the internet. You want to talk about the training you did for teachers and students?
Yes, I also want to actually thank the district for that because we got some training for the Brisk software. So we learned how to use it. We also trained the instructors, and we starting to kind of use Brisk and as a way to be able to detect AI use. Of course, we don't want to fully discourage, but we also want to make sure that the students are doing research and also citing some of the information that they're putting on these research papers. But thanks to Bricks, we were able to train the instructors on how to detect AI usage and just or plagiarism.
Mr. Charles Smith to talk about how we detect AI and how we are able to address that with our online.
So we look at AI in the scope of always framing that we live in Silicon Valley and we want our students to engage with innovative technology and be free thinkers, because quite honestly, none of us know what the job market's going to look like in 5 years, right? So we want our students to have marketable skills such as prompt logic and be able to use AI effectively. On the other hand, with any type of tool, we always need to frame it in the place of responsible use and appropriate context, right? And I always tell students who come for high school orientation that, you don't use a monkey wrench to make spaghetti. And that analogy applies to AI when it comes to measuring students' authentic learning. And really what we want students to understand is when they're engaging in a written response or when they're presenting an academic paper or a research project, that they may use AI to generate questions or to fully, flush out questions on a certain topic. But really when it comes to the thought, to expressing their understanding of the topic, that's when we want to measure. Our full goal is to measure their authentic learning, right? And not the best that the internet or AI has to offer. So to address the responsible use of AI, we have AI detection software, which is integrated into the Edgenuity platform that we use. And we also have AI detection software, which we use as a backup through the turnitin.com platform. And then finally, and the most important aspect, is teacher-student engagement. And I think this is an important part of our program, which is often overlooked or underrepresented. That at Mountain View Los Altos Adult School, our independent study program actually operates on a hybrid model, which means students engage independently with the content of a course, but they do so under teacher supervision. They're required to meet with a teacher at least once a week, and they proactively engage with the teacher throughout the week as they present their work and get feedback from the teachers. And the teachers are all level set and calibrated to respond to student work in a similar fashion. And finally, engage with students in a conversation when there's a question. I always let students know, no teacher that I know joined this profession to get students, right? Our goal is to measure student learning, to encourage thought and inquiry. And so to do that, if there's a question about authorship, we engage in a conversation. We ask the student to, expand upon the ideas they presented in their paper, or to respond to open-ended questions. And we encourage our teachers to approach the conversation as well with an open mind, right? And to make sure that the student has an opportunity to validate their authorship. And in addition to that, we leverage technology even further by suggesting that students use third-party platforms such as G Suite or Word to craft their document and retain their version history, which is a great way to look at you know, if there's ever a question, there's a great way to look at the history of authorship for a specific document. And so all of those are different aspects that come to this tapestry of the conversation around AI, right? It's AI is not good, it's not bad. It's a tool. And like any tool, it's the intent of the use that determines the outcome and how it's perceived.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Well, I wanted to echo Catherine and Esme's positive comments. So it's hard going last, but I really want to thank you all for the amazing work you do in our award-winning adult school. And whenever I visit, I'm constantly impressed with how you are setting adults on pathways to living wage jobs. And I appreciate that one of your looking ahead priorities is increasing awareness of student support services to remove barriers and promote equitable outcomes. I did read your annual report, and it notes that this is just a minor thing, so you could just answer this briefly, but it just noted that the one-on-one transitioning advising appointments decreased. Could you explain what the school is doing instead to support students in their transitions?
We're still continuing to do that. We just had a change in position twice last year, so that interrupted the services slightly, but we're still continuing with the same transition plans, still looking for ways to improve and make contact with students, attract students as well. So.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, I think we're ready to move on.
Thank you again.
Okay. All right, we now move on to 10.2, which is our annual ELD program progress reports and recognition of staff.
All right, good
Ms.
evening. It's
Perry
my
Paul.
pleasure to open tonight's presentation to hear about the incredible work from our ELD team. We have Taika Shu, who is our ELD TOSA teacher on special assignment, and Adriana Sanchez Hurtago to do our presentation, and she's the Los Altos Department Coordinator for the ELD program. Several times this year, we have shared data on our ELD progress. We know that there's continued work and focus to do, and at the same time, I want to remind us of the improvements that we have discussed across almost all indicators for our ELD progress. And that is because of the amazing work that our staff does. And so with that, let's learn more about the work that they do. Thank you.
All right, good evening, board members and Superintendent Volta, community members who are in person, those of you at home, we see you. We're really grateful and proud to present the work that represents so much of the staff at two of the comprehensive sites at MVLA that support our ELD students, our multilingual students. And I'm so honored to present alongside my colleague, Adriana Sanchez, who's really been a gift as a new member of the district. I've really found family and community within the ELD program. Unfortunately, the coordinators from Mountain View, Yoli Galvadon and Jose Rosario cannot be with us tonight, but know that they're invaluable to the success of the ELD program district-wide. So our agenda, next slide, please. Oh, there's a clicker. We're going to go through just some high-level data to know what our multilingual students, who our multilingual students are. We're going to go through our ELD levels and courses. We're going to talk about student progress monitoring, preparation for the LPAC, as well as curriculum and alignment across sites. So I'll turn it over to Adriana.
Good evening, my name is Adriana Sanchez and I'm an ELD teacher and ELD coordinator at Los Altos High School. Here we have a couple pictures. We decided to start with the pictures to showcase our program. At the top, we see where it says ELD Awards. So at Los Altos, we have every semester, we want to celebrate the students. So we give them an award with a little cupcake, students who received a 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. And then at the bottom where it says tutors, we have an ELD student who started with us in ELD 2. and now she's a senior. And she's also a tutor and tutors other students in science and math. She's also applied to a couple of colleges, so we're waiting to see where she goes next. For the other picture with the bike program, we've been doing this for a couple of years, so a lot of our students struggle sometimes to come to school, so some of them take a bus, and we have partnered with community partners in South where they give us bikes for students that need it. And then we also have these two other pictures here where we're taking students in field trips. So one of them is at San Jose State University, and then the other one's at the ANZA. Some students were very interested in the automobile program, so we wanted to take them so they can see and explore. It's not there, but we also took students last year to University of Santa Cruz, and then afterwards we took them to the beach, which was really nice because some students said that they had never been to the beach here in the United States. So it was really, really awesome to take them and have them see that.
And then in the top corner, you can see the Filoli field trip. So 3 times a year, Mountain View has a partnership with Filoli Gardens in Redwood City. And the students go and tour the grounds. This year we learned, I didn't know this, but it's newt mating season. So we got to see the newts at the edge of a stream and hundreds of eggs. So it's very scientific, as well as a great community builder for the students at home.
Here we have our EL enrollment history, and this is ELD and long-term ELs included. Something just to note is that in 2022-2023, the ELD program returned to Los Altos, which is why you see a decrease in numbers in Mountain View and increase at Los Altos.
And then here you can see that while even though a majority of our students are Spanish speakers, we still have other languages represented at both sites, which I think makes the environment richer when there are multiple languages and multiple cultures represented. You can also see the number of students at each ELD level for both Los Altos and Mountain View. You can see that there's only 5 students in ELD 1 at Mountain View, which was the reason we actually combined both ELD 1 and ELD 2 at Mountain View to create larger class sizes, but also to accelerate language proficiency. These numbers do not actually include our long-term English language learner students, who are those that have been identified as language learners for 6 or more years in the school system.
So next, we're going to show you the ELD courses, and this is by level, so ELD 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just kind of a little overview, like English, students take ELD 1 integrated and ELD 1 designated. For math, depends on what they took prior. We looked at transcripts to see what coursework have they already completed and what they still need. And then for science, they also, depending what level they are, they're either going to take integrated science at Mountain View and Plant and Soil at Los Altos. For social studies, we do have some SEDAI classes, and those are classes for our EL students. And then for language, PE, health, and electives, it just depends on the student. Each student is very different. They have different backgrounds. They come from different places with different courses that they've taken. So we definitely take a look at those and see what do they need in order to be able to graduate. So something else that we've noticed is that a lot of students, some students are struggling, not only because they're learning a new language, but they also have to, they're also learning content. So something that we did this year is we're doing weekly grade monitoring. So a couple of us have come together to look at grades, but also look at attendance. We noticed that some students are struggling because of attendance, so we work with administration with that. And then some students are attending and they're struggling for various reasons. So we've assigned a person, almost like a case manager for targeted students. And then we're also meeting weekly to go over, okay, what do they need? What support can we give them? And also look at intervention. So for example, tutorial center, put appointments for ACT, and then contact parents so we can have parent-teacher conference and include them in this. And in order to be able to improve semester outcome.
And so LPAC season is upon us. All multilingual students who are not yet reclassified have to take this exam every year until they score a 4, and then they're eligible for reclassification. So I just actually proctored a group exam at Altos. And after spring break, all of the students in the ELD classes will be taking this test. It's 4 parts. So it's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And just to give you a little taste of that, during the speaking session, students have to listen to 2 to 3 minutes of a presentation, an academic presentation with lots of academic vocabulary. And then they have to summarize 3 main points and 3 details for those main points verbally, while only hearing it once. So it is quite a task and quite a feat to get a 4 and then to qualify for the classification. So we prepare our students for the LPAC because not only is it about the language skills, but it's about understanding the exam, about understanding the assessment. So we have partnered with Summit K-12 this year. It's an online platform aligned to all the LPAC type questions that gives feedback to students instantaneously through AI. We've logged 31,000 active student minutes on this platform this year. And we've also used ACT and tutorial time with long-term English learners and students who are no longer in ELD classes to give them the support on the LPAC. Because ELD teachers are doing this daily and weekly in their classes, but not all students have that class or that support. And then we've also, a lot of our long-term language learners, a significant number actually are duly identified, which means they also have IEPs. And so we instituted last year the domain exemptions for multilingual students with IEPs, which means that if the IEP team, the case manager, and the family agrees, students can be exempt up to 2 parts of the LPAC. So they could be exempt from either speaking or listening or reading and writing. We actually had proctors trained by the county last month to ensure that we're all aligned on what it means to create a safe place for students to take the test and show us what they know linguistically. And we also have familiar proctors at each site. So you're not coming in to a new setting with someone you don't know, being asked to summarize an academic presentation. That's very, very intense. And so we have people that students know, asking them those questions, welcoming their responses, and nudging them to share more. So that is kind of in a nutshell what we've done to ensure that our students have access to LPAC type questions. ELD teachers and even teachers who teach other content areas for multilingual students backwards plan from the ELD standards and also the LPAC type questions to ensure that their curriculum and their content mirrors some of the questions on the test, thereby preparing students even more deeply. And lastly, we wanted to talk about curriculum collaboration. So my first year in the district was last year, and the ELD department was in the middle of a curriculum pilot, a multi-year curriculum pilot. And so this is the first year where we've used adopted curricula for the entire year. So we adopted pathways and lived curricula for the ELD classes. And we also have a common prep across the both sites. So during the first period, ELD teachers from both sites, and usually there's only one teacher. So there might be one ELD4 teacher or one ELD3 teacher, but now across sites, teachers can have a thought partner. They can share curricula, talk about students' work, and adapt their lessons to best meet the needs of their students. We are also starting to work on project-based learning. So to really bring the curriculum alive and to have authentic audiences for products that our students create, and also to plan with student voice and adapt to student voice throughout the year. And so now we're going to show you some examples of student work.
So we're really planning to show you what our students are doing. So for example, in ELD 1, designated, currently they just finished right now doing a weather report. They wrote a paragraph and video themselves giving a 5-day weather forecast for a city of their choice. So for example, the student chose France. And then here on this other side, students are writing 3 to 4 sentences. And one of the questions is, what does success mean to you? As you can see, students were able to write 3 or 4 sentences with support and scaffolding. And then here is ELD 2. So students are now writing more. They're using graphic organizers and then also writing more paragraphs.
And then I'm sharing on behalf of Mountain View. So this year, like I said previously, we at that campus, we have collapsed ELD 1 and ELD 2 into a single section. And so this is work from a unit on empathy, where students are reading stories and articles and sharing their history with this idea of empathy and how it's grown and why it's important. And you can see on the left that's student work from an ELD1 student. And on the right, that's work from an ELD2 student. And you can kind of see the differentiation that's taking place in the classroom, where some students are writing longer sentences, using conjunctions in context to pull for deeper thinking. But that's still accessible to ELD1 students. So they're not separate in that regard, but it pushes some students to use more of their language fluency, which then models for a student who's at a more emerging level, how to access some deeper thinking through language. And so you can kind of see there's a lot of expertise in what this teacher is doing, providing different supports and different structures to differentiate for the different emerging levels of language proficiency in her classroom. And so we just want to thank you again for this opportunity to speak to the work of the ELD departments. It really does take a village committed to improving students, to seeing students, to really getting to know students. And it goes beyond just medium coordinators, it's the teachers, it's the administrative liaisons, bilingual secretaries, community liaisons, parents, IAs. It takes so many to really support our multilingual students. And so we're grateful for all of them.
And psychotic. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for all the amazing work you're doing for our ELD students. Does any of the board have any questions or comments? Alex?
First of all, huge thank you for this presentation. I see some familiar slides so from what we've seen in the DLAC meeting, and I think this is like actually the perfect continuation to what was presented in DLAC meeting. Amazing work. It is so incredibly important. I think my biggest question is actually what are the biggest challenges for you guys right now? Maybe it's by level or by school, and how can the board help?
Thank you for that question. I do think, so I just want to say that this is my second year in the district. I'm still learning and I'm still learning about the history of the ELD program. But I do think when I observe classes and when I work with teachers and course teams, I'm really noticing the need for more differentiation and for identifying, what is the minimum level of proficiency that any student, regardless of language proficiency, needs to demonstrate in any subject. And how do we use state guidance and how do we use examples from other places to really identify that core curriculum so that we can differentiate from there? Because I'm seeing that if we don't do that, then maybe access is blocked. Maybe access is harder to achieve in certain courses if we're not kind of deciding on this minimum level of proficiency. And so I think that work could really support all students at different levels of language proficiency to really access the curriculum and be able to participate more equitably across classes.
And just having more options for students. I know like years ago, it used to have like an auto shop class. I know right now they have culinary, which a lot of students are going into because they either work like a restaurant, so that helps them a lot. And the other thing too is mental health. A lot of students have gone through so much and they show up, but smile, maybe to learn. So being able to support them with not only having more Spanish speaker therapists, but any other language.
This is super helpful and very insightful. Taika, just to make sure I understood like your answer, you're basically saying in order to be able to understand and learn the various subjects required at the high school level, what is the minimum level of proficiency that's really needed? And it's different per subject, of course, math versus like social studies. And once you determine that level, you need to bring students first to that level. Otherwise, they can't really understand what's happening. That makes a ton of sense. That makes it. How do you guys? So I guess today you differentiate only based on level. For example, there was a slide that showed that LD1 and LD2 have integrated classes versus once you switch to LD3 and 4, it's regular classes. And so you believe that that separation is not sufficient to deliver the best support on an individual level. Is that right?
I would say you could have that separation and still optimally teach students what I think that I'm advocating for like backwards planning from minimum levels of proficiency. So teachers can say, okay, I want all my students to at least reach this level, regardless of language proficiency. And I'm going to have multiple pathways for students to get there. And I'm going to reteach things that are absolutely necessary to access grade level content, while also providing the necessary language supports for all the students in the classroom to access that. So I think it's a complex task of teaching in a differentiated heterogeneous classroom, very complex. But I think we could benefit from those conversations across subjects and within department teams to really identify those that minimum floor for proficiency, and to build our curriculum and our assessments out from that in ways that respect and respond to all the different levels, not only language levels, but just different ways of thinking in the classroom. So I think it's possible to do that in a like an ELD3 only classroom, but then once you go into the mainstream, when students are in, let's say, 9th grade survey, they're very heterogeneous classrooms. They're in terms of language and prior knowledge. And so I think if we all have that minimum floor, this is what it means to leave Algebra 1 as a proficient mathematical thinker, I think that could guide our curriculum construction.
Got it. And do you believe that one would need different tracks depending on where students are to better achieve that minimum level of proficiency once you finish it? Or you believe that, there is one class where a teacher is able to accommodate a variety of different starting points?
Can you say a little bit more about what you mean when you say tracks?
Yeah, since students have since it's such a heterogeneous environment, everyone has a different starting point. And so, as you mentioned, it's quite a challenge for one teacher to understand where everyone is at and bring everyone to the minimum. So is a better way to actually say, okay, these students with this type of starting point are in one classroom, students with another set of starting points are in another classroom, or is this all in one class and you believe that the teachers are able to do this? And if so, what support is needed?
So I do think there is a richness and a beauty to heterogeneity, where students from different backgrounds and different language experiences and different content experiences come together and really learn from each other. And we're seeing that in the 9th grade survey. We're seeing students who are at the ELD3 level interacting with reclassified students, with English only students, with already proficient multilingual, bilingual students. And so I think there's a richness in that we want to maintain for the benefit of all of our students. And I think it's doable with the right supports and the right training and the right mindset as to how we really meet the needs of all students in the classroom. So yeah, I don't support necessarily tracking for individual students at that level. I do think we're seeing success across subjects where students are integrated into mainstream classrooms and actually accelerating their language proficiency because of that.
Thank you.
Catherine?
Okay. I hope that I'm coherent in summarizing these things that I'm thinking. One is in terms of the parents' ability to speak English, which maybe many of them don't, or they're trying to learn alongside, and are they encouraged to go to adult school, or could we have more resources at the school, like parent conversation groups or whatever, where parents could kind of catch up with vocabulary and learning English too? I mean, because it'd be helpful if both sides could do this together. Or are the parents maybe not interested or do not have the time because of their heavy duty work commitments or whatever to care, or maybe they probably care, but to try to learn English too? So that is one question. Another one is, how do you, why does it have to be LPAC because of this? Is that a state requirement that it be LPAC? And they already picked that one, so you're like, we're stuck with LPAC. But then you picked Summit K-12 as a good one to help with that practice, or are there other ones used in the state by other EL programs that are being successful? And do you compare your results with other school districts? Not they're better or worse, but just to see if they're doing something that works maybe better than what we're doing, or whatever. But I'm really thrilled to hear that you're coordinating between the two sites. So, because I'm thinking they should be sort of on the same alignment in terms of what we're doing at the two sites. And then your chart, the thing it doesn't say is that if you come in as a freshman and you're at EL1, if you never get past EL4, can you graduate? Yeah, you know, because you need so many credits in all these different subjects. And do all the EL classes count as, you know, 5 credits towards graduation in English or? Yeah, I mean, so I want to know how it counts compared to the total that you would get to need to graduate. Because we want everybody to graduate, but we also want people to all be able to speak English. So, yeah. That's cool. And there's no AP classes listed here. So, I mean, people would not be able to, do you think, or how many of your students end up in an AP class in any of these language scenarios? Not that we're pushing only that, and CT is so very important also. And you mentioned these other electives that could, other classes or CTE kind of strands that we could offer that would give them work experiences and also language and vocabulary in that area. That's all good too. It's just so much to deal with. And so those are just kind of like random thoughts rather than, you know, trying to tell you how you should do things, but yeah. So, also in these things like the LPAC, that test you're talking about, my last question is, are you allowed to take notes as you go, or would that be impossible in when they're being read their 3 or 4 minute thing that they then have to respond to, that they wouldn't have time to take a note? But if they could take a note and like write down as it goes the 3 main topics, and then they could give themselves one, learn how to take, I mean, that would be that's note taking is a useful skill in any class. So then they would have a prompt for themselves to answer to get that 4 or whatever. I just wondered how that all works.
I'm actually taking notes right now on all your great questions, 'cause there was a lot of issues there. I can respond quickly to the LPAC questions. The students can't.
Well, I told you it was kind of random thoughts coming out related to this. Yeah. And one last one is, how do you integrate with, or do you, with the way adult school teaches English language, or is there things to be learned from there and back and forth? Could, you know, could their teachers learn some stuff from you and your teachers learn stuff from them?
Yeah, we haven't yet. Yeah, that'd be a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And to respond to your questions on LPAC, so students can take notes when they're for both the listening section and the speaking section. So that's available to them. They can actually read their notes as part of their response. And we have investigated other systems that support students with the LPAC, and we wanted to try some at K-12 because they have a successful report card with success, because they're so aligned and because they have so many similar type questions. Because it really is understanding how the test is constructed, and like when you need to take notes and what exactly you need to say at the right moment to be able to have success. And there's no other way, as of February of 2025, there's no other way to reclassify, and unless you get a 4 on the LPAC or a 3 on the alternate LPAC. There used to be an alternate pathway for students with IEPs, but that is now gone according to the state of California. So you have to get a 4 or a 3 on the alternate.
Yeah, and is that a place where public officials, such as ourselves, can advocate to our Department of Education and or the legislature that is not, I don't know about realistic, it isn't realistic either, but that it's not a proper way to evaluate people or to have them be successful in life, to have this only one way to do it.
100%, we would love that. Thank you.
This Saturday morning.
Yeah, we're going to, some of us are going to a legislative thing with other officials that are in other parts of government about legislature relating to schools on Saturday. And we will mention that.
Okay, anyone else? Esme.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I think you were going to respond, right? Yeah. I think you.
Well, and you can in other contexts or later, because some of it was just kind of a stream of thought, but hopefully you hear what I'm trying to say about several things.
Okay, are you done, Catherine? So we can call on Esme? Okay, all right, great. Esme.
Okay. I'm curious in terms of all the offerings, it seems like the most differences are between the ELD level 1 and 2 science, social studies offerings by campus. And I'm curious, like the rationale behind that. And if that's like, if the inputs are influencing different outcomes and what we're like learning there. Do you want me to ask all my questions or pause there and ask my next question? What would you prefer? Okay, so that's one question. I'm wondering for some of these like student progress tracking, I see for the first one, it's weekly. Like what's the frequency and who really like has ownership over that and making those connections? It seems like to mostly campus resources. And then I'm curious, what does support look like for the long-term English language learners? I see like tutorial time, and I'm curious if there's other ways we're supporting those students to eventually reclassify. And then you talked about curriculum, piloting curriculum, and I'm curious like what this means.
We've had conversations with administration about what will best work for the students. So we're still gonna change, and we're still having those conversations right now, based on like integrated science and the plant soil. Right now, we do have students that are in plant soil and human bio at Saltos, and they're doing well. I can't speak about Mountain View, I'm not sure, but you know, really one teachers are going there. I don't know if you want to mention about why they're different.
Just the rationale behind that and how are we seeing if it's leading to any different outcomes?
I've seen that students are getting their graduation credits completed, they're learning science. We've seen an increase of 2.0 or higher in our EL students. The differences were based on the passion of the teacher. And teachers at one site had environmental science, plant science, or human bio that were already established there when we brought over the ELD program. And so using their expertise, we just designed a course that was for the EL. And then same over at Mountain View, the teacher was teaching bi-yearly environmental science to biology class, and they decided to do an integrated because that one course comes with both life and physical science. So depending on if you came in with a past transcript of physical science or life, you would get that other grad requirement in the science over there. And so seeing that students are getting their grad requirements for science, students are enjoying, they're being engaged. We supported the differentiation of what that course offering looked like.
Got it. So we're seeing the same level of graduation rates and they're getting the same kind of graduation requirement completed regardless of the offering. Got it.
And it's evolving. We're constantly asking questions. Where are the students at? Are these the right courses? We're talking about what kind of changes might take place next year or the year after.
And that's true also for the social studies? Or are they the same? The same? It just had Los Altos as, so I didn't know why if it was the same or different.
The one difference is that in Mountain View, there is not a world studies SIDI, but it does have a civics and econ and a US history.
And are we seeing still like that students are achieving still across campuses?
You have 30 level 1 and 2s, where Los Altos has, I have to go back to the numbers, I want to see close to 40 or 50. So just the number and size makes the difference in how many different courses that we can offer to be fiscally responsible while helping them meet graduation requirements.
And for the student, progress tracking. We're meeting, the Fall Salt Center, we're meeting on every Monday. A couple of us, because we were already checking in with the students, so we figure what is the best, and we're trying to figure out what is the best way for all of us to do it together. I know, for example, like I was checking in with a student, and then we have, like, we'll say, last time our bilingual secretary checking in as well. So we are meeting every Monday, to have these conversations. And we're also meeting with like Petrita, so there's a bunch of us, Larin, who's the counselor at the office as well. And we're trying to figure out too, like what else besides the tour center, ACT, checking in with them, checking in with the teacher, calling parent. We're just starting right now as far as like doing more of those interventions. So we're looking forward to see what more, you know.
And as a DO staff member, I would use areas to pull the current gradebook grades across sites for multilingual students, disaggregated by department and course team, as well as the current attendance rates for each of those students in all of their classes. You can actually see who's getting an F that's been to class 98% of the time versus who has an F and has only been to class maybe 50% of the time. That allows us to prioritize and strategize our conversations about student support for multilingual students. And then I believe you had a question about the pilot curriculum. So the pilot we did last year, and you all looked at quite a few curricula, piloted different curricula each semester, and then ultimately settled on Pathways and Lift, which is from National Geographic. We liked it because they had like thematic units. So it wasn't just about teaching language outside of context, but it actually teaches language in context, tries to spiral some of the same theme throughout a unit, and is really aligned to the rest of it. So this is our first year with how to pilot and kind of using the document.
And both sites.
At both sides, yes.
And then the LTELs would support LTELs. Thank you.
See, I checked the notes, but I forgot that topic. So in addition to ACT and tutorial, I've actually been going into these support classes for students with IEPs to support language development. And so that looks like every period we're going to a different classroom with a cohort of multilingual students to actually support them with language acquisition with help active tasks.
And that's ongoing throughout the year.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Vadim.
All right, well, thank you for the presentation. A couple of questions. Are the students allowed to take AP and honors classes in subjects where perhaps English proficiency is not as prohibitive, all right, to their participation, primarily math and science?
Have taken AP classes, like for example, taking AP Spanish. We do have a few EOD students taking maybe like AP Bio, a very few. We want to see more, and we do definitely encourage, especially when we meet with the students one-on-one to see what they're what they like. Because more than like, oh, I'm really good at like science, for example. We'll have conversations with the teacher and ask them like, what do you think? And they'll tell us, yes, I think you can do it. But it's very few students so far.
Okay, but there's nothing that prevents them from participating in these classes, assuming that the teacher confirms their abilities, right? Okay, that's great.
The students do have access to classes that they want to take. I will say an open question is like, when a student enters a certain class, to what extent is the curriculum instruction in a place that would support an emerging or bridging multilingual student to equitably participate in that class? And so that would be an open question for any.
Okay, and my second question is, what's enrollment or engagement of the students in sports? Because I believe sport is something that can really welcome them and create a community. And the best way to learn a language for the kids, I think, is, talking to other kids, where the students may not necessarily shine in some of these classrooms because of the lack of communication skills, but through sports, they can demonstrate, skills that they have and like make friends.
Sometimes no, they can't because they have to go to work or they have to go take care of their siblings. So that usually prevents them from signing up. But other than that, some of them are doing soccer. I think last year we had a 9th grade soccer team, which allowed more students to sign up for it and everything. But we've had, yeah, since soccer, football, the main ones.
I think that question, Vadim, by the way, came up last time we heard this presentation. And one of the challenges is how competitive our sports are, like across our campuses. And by the time a student starts in high school, they likely have played many years. And if you're new to a sport, it's a little hard to try out and compete. So one of the pushes was to introduce like intramural sports, right? Where you can still have some of the benefits that you're talking about. So that might be something we continue to.
Okay. So I think I really appreciate the work that you're doing to strengthen the program. Most of my questions have been covered. I think there are a few themes though that I heard that kind of stood out to me. One was sort of your teaching to the standardized test, which people have told me is difficult. And yet, once you pass the test, there are still barriers to actually accessing the high school curriculum. So even being reclassified doesn't necessarily mean that you can take Algebra 1. So to your point, I think more inclusion, more equitable inclusion, and you said heterogeneous classes. I think actually it's been shown, mostly with students with disabilities, but I'm sure it applies to English language learners as well, that inclusion is actually better for all students because all students benefit from learning from a diversity of backgrounds. So I guess to your point, I think that is something for the board to ponder is how we can make our curriculum more accessible to all students. So if they're starting in Algebra 1, that they pass that class and they move on and they don't get stuck, whatever level they're at, whether they're EL 1 or EL 2 or, and then I think also, as we've done in special education, we've expanded the classes that are accessible to students. And perhaps there could be, is it possible to have a conversation with special education? Because also, I'm aware that a number of our EL level students, especially our long-term English language learners, also have IEPs. So, and that's why they're not becoming proficient, because even if they you said they cannot take 2, but that still means they have to take 2. So if they're deficient, if they have some need accommodations in 3 areas, then they're kind of stuck, right? And that's just how it's a standardized test, right? So it's just the way it is, right? And I think an IEP is not necessarily, since it's an individualized education, it's not necessarily, it sounds like it's not, there's some accommodations, but how well do those accommodations work for a student that has an IEP? That's one of my questions. And then my other question is about parent involvement, because I think that's really important. I used to attend DLAC meetings before. I think your DLAC meetings are amazing. You give great information. In fact, I attended one where you gave the medical information, which was vital for a lot of families, but there weren't that many families there. So my question is, how can we increase our parent involvement? What can the board do? And also I'm hearing that our PK, we only have, so PK is our parents' learning class. I think all parents can learn how, especially who haven't gone to high school, but there are many things you can tell your kid, like go to bed, things like that. And I think especially in a culture like, I grew up in a culture where you respect your parents. So if your parents tell you to go to bed, you go to bed. But my parents knew that I needed to go to sleep. So just there's a lot of things I think that parents have influence on that they may not necessarily know. They might think, well, I didn't go to high school. I can't speak English. I don't know how to help my child in high school. And I think that's what PK teaches you, right? So I'm not sure why, because when I look at other districts, they have roughly the same number or even less of students, and yet they have a higher PK enrollment. So I'm wondering what we as a board can do about that. And then finally, I'm wondering what supports are available for students who are nearing graduation, but have not yet reclassified, right? They're coming up to the deadline. Are they still so kind of emphasize like, as my question, are they still kind of stuck in like classes where they're not actually, because you can graduate and not really advance. I mean, you can fulfill our graduation requirements by taking 4 years of English, 4 years of sort of SAE classes. But maybe you're not really, as you're saying, instead of having the classes fit your level of English, sort of it's kind of we're the other way around, right? We assume that you speak English, and then it's sort of although we have an open access, what I've heard in reality is that it's sort of conditional, and you have to like people kind of look at you sideways, and like you might be very good in science, but maybe your English isn't very good. But science or math is basically formulas. So I'm not seeing if you actually are good at math, why this teacher can't make accommodations for your English if you actually know how to write formulas down, just as we make accommodations for students. Like my son actually couldn't, he used graph paper. I mean, it's like there's very simple accommodations, but I'm sure there's accommodations to translate things or otherwise do things so that students can access the curriculum. And since we have AI now, you can actually literally take the whatever it is. Maybe it's not the greatest translation, but probably someone who can read it and go, yeah, I understand what this says. Because I've done that myself and translated it back, and it's not great, but it's passable, right? So those are my questions.
You do get credit for integrated to get English credit, but then designated because elective. So that's for 1 and 2. And then for 3 and 4, they get English credit for the ELD to be designated and survey comp or grade 11 English. So they get the whole English credit on the 3s and 4s, and then for 1 and 2, just 1. They also attend, we have all students and summer school. Some of them can be something to work or something else, but if they attend summer school, at least 1 of the summers, they get also 10 credit. That helps them with English. And then with the other courses, it just depends. Sometimes students, we have very few that don't come in with anything, and then we have majority come in with something with a transcript. But it's even wild to get it out of these for them to get translated or for us to look at it. But meanwhile, we do go to one of the classes. That's one.
That's so many good comments and questions. I do want to say that as a district, we are working on explicit language instruction, which attempts to increase access to the language, to the academic language for multilingual students, for all students across content areas. So that is a district-wide approach that we're using to improve access and equity, inclusion. And I also just want to say that, teachers are really in it thinking about to what extent are their classes accessible? And like, that's a big question when we plan backward, is like, how is it accessible for all my students in the room right now? And that's an undertaking. Like, it's complex. And I think we are grappling with that as a district in this moment.
For accommodations, I do agree. I think in my ideal world, I would love for all our ELD students to have accommodations. But I know there's a process as far as like doing, other floors and because otherwise, something that we've heard is if we give accommodation to this student, we have to give it to everybody if it's not. Writing, so it makes it a little bit hard. Other things we work with special ed is that we, sometimes we're ELD students for them to get assessed. The question is it a language or is it more? I'm very lucky that I taught special ed prior to this, so I'm able to really differentiate that and then tell somebody like, no, it's this. So there's gonna speak Spanish, I can see that. So we kind of, was gonna get us that because of that. It's not a language more than that. And then for the other curriculum, it's just some students, the last time they went to school was 6th grade or 7th grade, so every student is so different and they're very unique situations. Some things are very difficult, but we try our best to be able to help them and see what we can do to support.
I think just going back to, teacher development and teacher learning, I think one of the biggest indicators of movement for teachers is reliant, and this is what the research says, on meaningful collaboration time. And so there are places where that's happening across the district. And I think a bell schedule, which we're currently looking into, could really afford that, really afford more intentional, meaningful collaboration time for teachers to reflect on their practice, on their curriculum, to answer a lot of the questions that you all have asked. So I think structurally that's really important for our growth as special teachers.
Thank you very much. That was really informative, and I think we came away with a lot of things to think about. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With a nice little surprise and very well due, we have our Spotlight Award tonight. And it is most appropriate, and I'm truly privileged to recognize our ELD TOSA, Tyga, our coordinator Adriana, and then missing from us this evening is Jose Yoli. I just want to talk about their extraordinary work in building, strengthening, and sustaining our ELD program. I'm just going to say my little speech here because I think it's very meaningful around their work. So they have created far more than just extraordinary classes and a support system. They have built a program that is rooted in care, high expectations, belonging, and opportunity for our students. And I believe that they have shown that tonight in their presentation. Their dedication, expertise, and persistence has helped create a learning environment for our multilingual learners that are truly seen for their strengths and assets in our schools. One of the most remarkable aspects about their work, and it was again noted this evening, is the way that the two departments collaborate across the schools. Education can easily be isolated between the two schools and what your work is, and Tyga, the department coordinators, have gone to extra lengths to make this collaboration possible, attending conferences, traveling to see other highly regarded ELD programs around the country, and spending their prep periods to Zoom or meet with one another to check in and talk about best practices. And their impact also reaches beyond the classrooms. Students are supported, as you learned tonight, personally and emotionally. They're given encouragement. They're learning how to navigate the system that can feel uncomfortable. And it's our ELD team that advocates for them, that guides them, that celebrates them. And our team are not just teachers to our students in ELD. They're the trusted adults on campus. They're the mentors, and they're the place that they go when they need steady support. They've also created meaningful field experiences that we saw with our presentation tonight. This deepens our students' understanding in what their possibilities can be outside of school. This does not happen by accident. This happens because this team, including the individuals behind me, are committed and pour hours into their work. They lead with their heart. They're extremely professional. And over and above everything, they truly believe in the potential of our students. And so tonight, it is a huge honor to give them the Spotlight Award. Their leadership, their collaboration, their advocacy, their care, it pours into all of their work. So please join me in recognizing our outstanding leaders.
Move over just.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next we move on to 11.0, the consolidated agenda. Does anyone have any quick comments or questions or wish to pull an item? Vadim.
Like to pull 1110 transportation plan.
Okay, so Vadim wishes to pull 1110. Does anyone else wish to pull anything? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consolidated agenda with the exception of 1110?
I move we approve the consolidated agenda from 1 to 15, except 10.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Alex. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, so now we'll move on to items pulled from the agenda, consolidated agenda, which is 11.10. So, Vadim.
Yeah. Just like a little more explanation for 1.2 million transportation expense. Probably my lack of understanding exactly what's involved in it, but it cannot all be due to covering VTA passes for students who qualify for that.
I was to look at it and review it. He's the point person filling it out. But yeah, I believe he's going to talk about our special ed transportation as part of it. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, it's a combination of both bus passes that we give out high school students and our combined JPA for all of that shared transportation. So you combine both of them together, it's 1.1 million.
What is JPA?
Joint Powers Association, alliance. Agreement. So that means any transportation that has to deal with, we go with them to cost of the district less than money. So they do a mass transportation of what cost effective way we can provide transportation to students to the house for special ed.
So it's, and I'll add, it's homeschool transportation for special ed. We don't have a transportation department, so we joined with the group of other districts, Fremont, Union, Sunny Elementary, Mountain West, and South School District, San Antonio Unified, maybe one other. And you create a joint powers authority, which then goes to contracts out with an agency to then provide that transportation. So that's actually the bulk of it, and then the VTA and the bus passes would be in balance.
Okay.
This plan is a relatively new requirement. It's probably 3 years old, and it happened when Governor Newsom increased transportation funding and required these plans for each district to complete.
Would it be valuable, and I don't have an answer to this, but to have sort of more line items in this plan so that we can see what what the expenses are related to various transportation. And I also think that we've discussed the transportation for special education needs students, if I recall correctly. Didn't we talk about this separately?
Well, for answer to the first questions, we can certainly provide some more of that breakout. I mean, we could tell you how much we spend total on VTA per month by school site, because we could easily break that down. And then the special ed transportation is easy to pull out. We make four quarterly payments, and there's a budget that we meet regularly with them.
Well, let me ask it this way. In reality, like when we look at these numbers as a board, we, can't make any decisions, right? Are there any changes, the significant changes that you want to highlight?
I think I just echo what Mr. Volta said, is it's a relatively new requirement, and as many things the state requires us to do, is when they give funding, they want a report that shows how we're spending them. And this doesn't even come close to covering the true cost of transportation. So much of this is a compliance document to show that we're spending dollars on transportation in order to justify the state reimbursing a fraction of that cost. Your question about what do we change much? I think we're doing a good job with our special ed transportation. It's essential. We work with special department in particular in terms of looking at that student transportation needs, and if there's additional routes that need. If we review all that and work with the families in the special department. In terms of BTA, we work with them, I think, discount rate. We're not mistaken in providing that for students that qualify based on our income levels.
Yes.
That's so I feel good about what we're doing. And on the costs, we're having to pay to receive that.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, are we ready to make a motion? Okay.
I move we approve 11.10 transportation plan for 25-26 and 26-27.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Vadim. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 5-0. All right, so now we move on to 13.0, business action items, and we move to 13.1, which
We
is
do have a
approval.
public comment for 13.1.
So we have comments on 13.1, which is approval of administrative regulation, alternative credits towards graduation. And we have Cindy Sidors.
Hoping that my public comment is unnecessary. I urge you to approve the modifications to the administrative requirements within the regulations. Because as Mr. Volta said, it documents current practice. So I think it's important to have regulations written down rather than floating into. I hope this board will continue to support the district plans to meet the students' needs for health class. I know that's gotten all tangled up with ending a full year of ethnic studies and allowing students to drop. It's created some confusion. But I do share concerns that out of district health class may not be the quality of an in-district health class. So I want the best for the students, and I trust our board will help that way. Thank you.
All right, so now we move on to board deliberation. So does anyone want to start? Alex?
I actually have an amendment. I'd like
Okay.
to propose, so I'll make a comment and then propose the amendment. So first of all, I agree with the core principles that students earning MVLA diploma should generally complete their core academic courses within the district. Completely agree that a practice needs to be codified, provide an aligned, equitable access to all students. And I want to thank the administration for bringing this forward for board approval and making it a policy. That said, I think the way the regulation is currently written introduces restrictions in student access that are not necessary to achieve this goal and may unintentionally actually limit legitimate student access and choice. So the first issue is the 6-period requirement. Once we have the principles that core courses should be taken in MVLA, adding a requirement that students should also carry a full 6-period load becomes more of an operational scheduling preference rather than a principle of how out-of-district credit policy should work. In practice, what it means, it would restrict students' ability to take legitimate outside courses while maintaining a reasonable workload and keeping their mental health. Our practice actually uses a 5-period threshold, which still ensures students remain primarily enrolled in MVLA, and it actually allows quite reasonable flexibility. So that's the first one. My second concern is that the regulation removes flexibility for very foreseeable legitimate situations. So we already have many district-supported pathways such as College Now, semester abroad programs, independent study, situations involving medical needs. And I feel like without acknowledging that these programs should continue to exist, we have a policy that doesn't actually anticipate every student's circumstance. So removing the room for these cases may create unintended conflicts with the programs that the district already supports. In fact, there is a whole document of alternative programs of MVLA. And so as a result, I want to propose an amendment that preserves the intent of the policy and what I see is a very important move to codifying a practice into a policy while avoiding these restrictions that unintentionally limit legitimate and valuable student access and choice. So I move to amend the regulation as follows. Let me read the exact language. First, replace the requirement that students must be enrolled in 6 MVLA courses with the requirement that students must be enrolled in at least 5 MVLA courses in order to receive out-of-district credit. The second one clarifies that this regulation does not apply to district-approved alternative programs or circumstances, including but not limited to concurrent enrollment, exchange programs, College Now, independent study, home and hospital instructions, students transferring to the district who have a very different situation, and anything else, and other district-authorized educational programs. I'll pause here. That's the amendment that I move to amend the policy.
Catherine.
I would have to say that if we mostly had 5 before, there's no reason why we can't just leave it at 5. And secondly, I don't know that I feel the policy one way or another restricts us from doing the alternative programs the way we already do. However, if others, for instance, Alex feels that we could enumerate them so that it's clear that it doesn't apply in some of these situations. Yeah. For instance, does it apply at Alta Vista that you have to take in-seat health, for instance? So it's a little bit confusing that we mean in the comprehensive high school setting at the 2 comprehensive high schools. That I think is the issue that Alex is probably trying to address.
So let me ask the superintendent, because this is an administrative regulation. If this applies to alternative programs at MVLA. So because it uses the term core class. So does that apply to College Now, middle college, all the alternative programs we have, freestyle?
The only alternative program that I know, this is the 6 classes is just for freshmen and sophomores. The only alternative program that I know with any certainty that freshmen or sophomores attend is what we call as our option B, which is VISP, which is completely independent study. So that wouldn't apply to this. That's an alternative program. Our early college program is predominantly upperclassmen, and it was created as an alternative to middle college initially. And that is, again, juniors and seniors. Again, I'd like to remind the board that this administrative regulation was written by the administration, principals and otherwise. There's more. If this is an administrative regulation, and the reason why, as Ms. Sidaris put, we want to do this is so that we can put every student on equal footing. If there is a medical need for a student not to be on campus for 6 periods, then we can have either a permanent or temporary 504 that would override this administrative regulation, which federal law would do anyways. Students with IEPs, if there was an issue with them being on campus, could potentially have a reduced school day based upon whatever the conditions are. What was not mentioned is a good part of this is also about school safety. Having freshmen with 2 open class periods, there's no guarantee with our block schedule that we would be able to put these open periods back to back, depending on what the students signed up for and what classes they were taking. Therefore, you might have a freshman, 14-year-old with no place to go during the school day. The other part of this is that if we allow some freshmen to take 5 classes, that means we'd have to allow all freshmen to take 5 classes. The reason why we have 6 is to stay on track to graduate. All students must pass 6 classes their first 2 years and then 5 their second and third. Additionally, all alternative credits, and even in the ed code, when it talks about concurrent enrollment in junior colleges and only having to do a 180-minute school day, are for upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors. So I would advise to keep the administrative regulation as is and not to amend the 6-class rule. We don't have the supervision for a number of freshmen or sophomores to be in just 5 classes and wandering campus.
Eric, this particular policy though does not state the words freshman at all. Like it doesn't apply.
It says 9th and 10th graders.
In the old section.
It's just for 9th and 10th graders.
Yeah, so if you read the beginning, it says a student shall be approved to take an out-of-district course and have that course's grade and credits add to their MVLA transcript as long as the student is enrolled in 6 MVLA classes. And then it says, as a 9th and 10th grader.
I
has-
thought similarly, Alex, that maybe it was going to restrict, but then I remembered like 9th, 10th grade. I think the safety thing, I think, is a real consideration. And I think usually when we want a little bit more flexibility, it's the upperclassmen to maybe take advantage of some of the other, options that they have. And also when I think of, students who maybe have a lot of familial responsibilities and need to work, like there's other reasons I think we need a little bit more flexibility with upperclassmen. But I think for the younger students, this seems appropriate.
I think also that we have a high graduation rate right now. And part of that is we require students to start off on a successful footing by taking at least 6 classes. I think while some students have the resources to, take a bunch of classes outside of MVLA, I think to Tosa's point, setting the sort of floor for everyone so it's equitable, I think is important. So.
Eric,
Can I add something? So international exchange program applies to sophomore year. I don't know about freshmen, but I know for a fact that there are sophomore students who are participating in international exchange program. And if adopted as is, this policy would invalidate their participation because as a part of international exchange, they're taking core classes. So that's an issue that I have even with 9th and 10th graders.
Doesn't their class count as don't they take a class for international exchange? Isn't that how it usually works in high school?
Talking about our students going to an international school.
Correct.
Yeah.
They would take whatever programs they need to take internationally. They would be attending a different school.
Yeah, so would that be considered out of district class? If they take world history out of at an international school?
I'd have to look and see what our policy says about international programs. I don't believe this is for our current students. We'd have to look and see what our policy is for.
But so I looked and these are our students who are spending 1 semester of their sophomore year outside of the district taking classes. And as a part of that year, they're taking math, they're taking science, they're taking, I assume English, but there are multiple classes that will fall into the core class category. And the concern that these students, and at least one parent who shared now, the concern that they shared with me is, what do we do? What do we do this semester? What do we do next year? We're planning to do the study abroad program as a sophomore, and this policy seems to say that you can't.
So I guess the question is, what is a current student? Is a student who's enrolled in a international program like a student at MVLA, or are they a student at the international program? I don't know, and I think that's a good question.
And we coach them, so we make sure that they're getting their graduation credits.
So this would not preclude anyone from being able to participate in an international exchange.
There's a lot of swimming, right? Where
Could you speak into the microphone? Sorry, because the recording won't pick you up, Terry. If you could speak into if you could go to the podium, Terry, because
Please.
So we support international and we encourage international exchange programs going both ways. When a student participates, they need to meet with their counselor. The counselor reviews what are the courses that you'd be engaging with in this other program. How would they translate to your transcript when you return? Some international programs only offer 5 classes, some offer 8. And so we would work with the programs, with the international programs course requirements at that given semester, not the MVLA course requirements. And then when they come back, we add it to their transcript and we work with them. So this would not apply to students in an international exchange program. The same thing that if right now education code says a student needs to have 220 minutes to be a full-time student, or if you're concurrent as a junior senior, 180 minutes. But if you're traveling in an international exchange program, that CDE requirement is also waived and you apply to what the standards are of the program that you're currently attending.
So it doesn't apply and doesn't restrict.
Yep.
So my preference would be to include this wording into this regulation, because given the experience that many parents have had with counselor advice when it came to ethnic studies, a lot of that advice was incorrect. So I want to avoid that confusion. If we are to create a policy, we need to make sure that we are being very specific about this policy not conflicting with other policies.
I have +1 that, and I want to go back to the alternative programs, which the international exchange in my mind is one of them. So I'm rereading the ninth and 10th grader qualification and the current policy, and it seems to only apply to the requirement of being enrolled in 6 MVLA classes. Everything else seemingly applies to all grades. And so I want to change my amendment to keep the second point that this regulation, it should state that this regulation doesn't apply to district-approved alternative programs. We can give all the examples that exist, such as international exchange, etc. So yeah, otherwise it becomes unclear and confusing.
Actually, there's a administrative regulation 6145.6 explains participation for either international students in an international exchange program here in MVLA or our students going outside. And there's a process for having those courses translated and approved for graduation credit. And that, again, that's 6145.6. And it does not have any restrictions on grade level or anything else of that matter.
Yeah, that policy doesn't, but this policy does, as
This is
it
regarding
reads.
for students in our schools enrolled in our classes.
Is it true that we used to have 5 classes required, but now we want to have 6?
There was
I'm just, historically, I want to know.
differing, from what I've seen, there are differing statements about students enrolling in outside credits versus being enrolled in classes on site and so on. So this would make it equitable and unified across the district.
The previous practice as stated on the website stated 5. So, but what Eric is saying, of course, is exact. Maybe there was some different application.
It was 5 for alternate
yeah.
credits for freshmen. However,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say that it sounds like we're saying that district approved alternative programs would not be impacted. And the other policies that exist for these programs do not get eliminated, they continue to live. But the way that this policy reads to me right now is that it creates confusion. It does feel like it's conflicting. So if I were a parent reading this, I would conclude that I can no longer do that. And so I guess I'm curious if there is any second to my amendment to include a sentence that this regulation does not apply to district-approved alternative programs.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Include a sentence that says this regulation does not apply to district-approved alternative programs.
Were you going to still want an amendment about the 5 or 6?
It sounds like the 5 or 6, there is a specification. This is only for the first 2 classes. I would prefer to keep it, but I'm not hearing here a seconding support here.
Well, I think I'm not supporting it because of the security issue for
That's reasonable.
the little
Yeah.
kids. I won't say they're little, but you know, I
Not
mean,
little, yeah.
the younger ones.
Yeah, that's reasonable. So I'll keep the second one. That's my amendment, which I presume Tida, how do you want to handle it? Should we vote since there is a second?
Sure. Are we ready to vote on it?
I have a question.
We're voting on the amendment.
Yeah,
Oh, we can vote on the amendment, sure.
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if,
But we need
is
to
the
know.
amendment needed if we have that other policy you're referencing? And or is there a way we can reference what you read? I'm just trying to figure, like, I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
what the intersection is
It's a good
between what
question.
you're, what you
Yeah.
said exists already and then what we're trying to pass here.
This is for our students this is for our 9th and 10th graders that are enrolled in Mountain View and Los Altos High School. Obviously, if they're in VISP, there isn't we would still require them to be enrolled in 6 classes as a freshman, but it doesn't look the same because it will be online. Freshmen, sophomores are not old enough to attend middle college now, or Alta Vista. So I mean, I understand the clarity, but I don't think the amendment is necessary based upon the programs that we have. We're talking about freshmen and sophomore Eagles and Spartans.
So,
But the way it reads right now, it says the 6 classes requirement is only applicable to 9th and 10th. Everything else in this policy applies to everyone. That's the way that the language reads right now.
Correct.
so
Suzanne?
would a compromise be to put a link to the other, to the you called it VISP, to put a link to the VISP? Because I think rather than coming up with our own language, maybe just linking another policy in there, because we already have a policy, so we're not talking about that policy. So you're saying there's another policy that applies to students who want to do alternative things. So we could maybe we could just put a link in there.
I'm very happy with this proposal. It's very equivalent to what I'm saying, whether we reference other multiple policies. So the one that Eric is referencing is only the international exchange ones. There are many others. I want to say I personally saw 3 or 4, but I can read to you guys what is the list of alternative programs. There is middle college, there is college now, there is Moffitt independent study program, concurrent enrollment, high school diploma program, this one for adults, GED test preparation classes, GED testing, California high school proficiency. Not all of these apply, but I can already see that 3 do. And so I'm happy to include this with specific policies. This does not contradict the same idea. So just trying to like create clarity, that's all.
Okay, so VISP you don't feel covers all of the programs? Or is there another policy
The
or?
amendment is to the first line. I
just want to make sure it doesn't contradict something else.
The student shall be approved to take an out-of-district course and have that course's grade and credits added to their MVLA transcript as long as the student is enrolled in 6 MVLA classes as a 9th or 10th grader, has no more than 40 out of district credits on their transcript, and the course is not required for graduation. And you want to add after that sentence, the 6 credits is not.
Classes.
6 classes is.
This is not about the 6 classes. I think you explained the 6 classes, a satisfactory explanation. Thank you. Really appreciate that. This is about this particular policy potentially contradicting other things like international exchange program or college now or middle college, these things.
Well, middle college and college now are district programs. So those are
So will
not
student-
out of district. That would not count against the 40 credits. So all of those courses listed there are courses that students are all in MVLA alternative programs, including adult education. That's not an out of district course.
Interesting. Previously, you have explained to me that this refers to students are taking MVLA classes on campus, which would not then count college now. Is that not the case anymore?
When we were talking about 9th and 10th graders in 6 classes, that's what we were talking about. But if you're talking about the actual classes that can be taken outside of the district
Yeah.
for credit,
Yes.
those classes need to be approved by their school sites, whether it's an alternative or a regular site.
True.
They have to be approved by their administrator. But students must take those courses in our district first, the ones that are listed below.
College.
Whether it's in VISP through the VISP program, whether it's through Moffitt, Alta Vista, or what have you, those are out of district courses. So our alternative schools are obviously in district.
What about college now? Because they
College now is an early college program whereby students take junior college courses to meet their graduation
Exactly.
requirements because it's monitored by our district. Those are MVLA courses.
I see. So you're saying whether it's on campus or not is irrelevant. It's whether it is monitored and I guess supported by
Under the
MVLA.
MVLA umbrella. This is for those students that are not in an alternative program that want to go and they have an opportunity to take a summer school class at San Jose State. Or they're really interested in astronomy. And there's an online course or some other course where they can take astronomy and it's not a graduation requirements. They've already completed their 20 credits. They want to take it from BYU online, or, you know, maybe they're interested in history and they want to take a class on Frederick Jackson Turner's civilizing the West. Right, and they want to take that from another junior college.
If all MVLA supported programs as listed as students are taking are all included and students can continue taking them, I'm good. Like that's a really important piece, not to restrict that access. Many students really value these opportunities.
Yeah, this is just for districts for classes taking outside of a student's MVLA program.
And would a class like another language, I decided I want to speak Tagalog. Is that how you pronounce it even? And if we don't offer it here, then I could take that.
Yeah, it says unless the language is not taught at MVLA. So if you want to take Tagalog, you can go elsewhere,
Well,
because I don't think Tagalog is offered here.
Question asked of me earlier, because if you look at that, a long-standing portion of this AR was about private foreign language instruction. Those classes must be taken from an accredited university. There is a question about Ed Code 51244. I have an attorney working on that question regarding CDE, and I'm also going to ask some colleagues this Thursday and Friday about it.
Perfect.
To see what they do, because I can't imagine we're the only school district where students want to take something other than
Some other
list of
language.
classes
Yeah.
that-
And we don't teach sign language, do we?
No, that is taken outside, but then students can only take that from an accredited university or
Right.
school.
Yeah, I'll add context to Eric. I asked about ability to take Hindu outside of the district because that's a very popular request. And it's not specified in the OET code exactly. And so thank you, Eric, for checking on this. I think that's really important as a community. Yeah.
you?
Okay, so
Okay.
Or are you?
I'm
Okay.
withdrawing it, yeah.
You're withdrawing the amendment. Okay.
then I move that we approve the policy.
I'd like to add an amendment. I haven't.
Oh, you're gonna have a
Okay, you have
different
a
amendment?
different amendment. All right.
Right.
So the context that I want you guys to consider is that the current process that we have had was flawed by the fact that different administrators at different sites could apply it differently and make exceptions for students. So my own child actually got an exception and was allowed to take health online last year, not because of the impact of 1 year of ethnic studies, that was not a consideration at the time, but because taking health online allowed her to have a full-time job in the summer, which obviously benefited her. So I would like to extend that opportunity to all students rather than preclude all students from having this opportunity in equitable way. I'd rather have an equitable way of having students be considered for special circumstances. So the challenge that I have with the current policy, the way it's written, it precludes any single authority from considering exceptions. And while I appreciate that that authority should not reside with the site administration, because two of them, however many involved, most likely won't talk to each other about this. But I do like to give that authority to the administration. I do want an opportunity for students to be able to come to the administration and ask for an exception to this policy. Because as we have just discussed various circumstances that concerned us as board members, concerned the parents and the community about the international programs and various programs, I assure you that there will be circumstances that will be detrimental to student success. And whatever policy we work on, I want to make sure that we have a human being who can consider an exception and be authorized to, deal with that exception for the benefit of a student. So my proposal is to include the wording. I have a phrasing for it, but we can talk about it first. But basically, authorize, Eric and the administrative team, district administrative team, to have that leeway of offering an exception. Would you like to hear how to phrase it or discuss it first? And I'd like to motion it. So if people are willing to support it, please do.
I mean, I feel there are already ways that you can ask for exceptions based on specific circumstances, such as need, if you're in the hospital, you have an IEP. So I already feel there are exceptions that are baked in. And I guess I'm still reflecting back on what Tosa said about having a floor and ensuring that all our students graduate. And this is kind of these are basically the heart of our graduation requirements. And we're saying you need to take them at MVLA, and we have a lot of alternative programs. So you can take them at middle college, college now, go internationally and do something else. But I think that putting that language in there, then I think there's already ed code, I assume, that covers that you can go and say, well, I have these exceptional circumstances. Right, Eric? You could go and say, I can't, I broke my leg, I can't go to class right now. I need to do independent study or whatever it is you need to do.
There are processes to waive administrative regulations. Little uncomfortable with administrators waiving administrative regulations. One of the reasons why we're doing this is so that this is a common expectation for all students, and that all students coming into MVLA understand that these are the classes you need to take care of first. If there are in the past, when there have been really extenuating circumstances, then there can be a board waiver of an administrative regulation or policy. It's what you want that MVLA diploma to mean. Whether or not you want the core program to be taken within MVLA first, and then remedially afterwards if a student is not successful on one of these courses. This policy, this practice is not unique. Some school districts, although they don't write it, don't allow students to take any class offered at their school sites for credit outside of their districts. Speaking to some of my colleagues, they don't have it written down for whatever reasons. I think those extenuating circumstances might need to be better defined before you approve that. And then if it's not our sites that are approving it, then it will fall on to Ed Services or the superintendent to approve.
Yeah, so my recommendation for superintendent to approve rather than the sites. And this way, superintendent's office is the one who is receiving all the requests and can apply these exceptions with equal consideration.
I'll say that a similar line of thinking is actually what led me to propose my amendments, because I felt like there are particular cases which this policy does not consider. And thus I actually try to list all of the cases or cases that we are aware of and for sure need to continue to exist. But I had a similar feeling that we're creating something where it's hard to predict all the legitimate circumstances, and they might be restricting access to something that's actually really important to a student. Eric, I did take a look at other districts, Fremont, Palo Alto, Menlo, SF Union. So they actually, their policies are much sort of like lenient. Only Palo Alto restricts to 40 units out of districts. The rest of them typically focus on accreditation, approval from the superintendent, and documentation across 4, I guess, right? And so it did seem that approval from the superintendent is how people approach these types of things. And so I think with that, I do see logic in what Vadim is proposing. I'll second that amendment and see how people feel.
Okay,
I
I
have
just,
one- I
I
have-
just need to do a time check here. It is now 10:08. So really what we need to do is, do we have support
Well,
from
I
other
want to
trustees?
make one comment is all.
Sure.
And that is, I could see this as a good amendment from the point of view that the site would review it first, but then the superintendent would have the final say, because that way we can ensure that there's not inconsistency between the sites. One site is approving quite a few exceptions and another site is not approving the same kind of exceptions. That would be the reason for that.
I think my concern is without defining what the exceptions are, I could see it becoming an issue for for Ed Services, of people just coming and saying, I want an exception because, I want to go skiing or whatever they want to do. So I think without defining those parameters, I'm really uncomfortable with just saying you can go to the superintendent and ask for an exception to an administrative regulation.
We can have a closed policy or we can have an open policy. If you have a closed policy, you're restricting access no matter what. Your reasons might be good, but no matter how you look at it, you are actually reducing students' access, students' opportunity. And I assure you, there will be cases, whether we consider them legitimate or not. I doubt anybody will come because of skiing, but I'm sure there will be cases where somebody will be prevented from graduating, somebody will experience lack of opportunity that they have to give up, just like my child, because the policy is rigid. We're dealing with humans, we are dealing with families. That's what we are in the business of. Having a single place that can review all these requests and issue a judgment on whether it is approved or not, to me is ability to support individual needs of the students for their own benefit. So the way the policy is written, again, it all depends on how the policy is interpreted, right? Today we've heard many times that, oh, it will not be interpreted this way, that we have other things. But the way it is written, it's prohibitive. The way we are applying this we desire to apply something uniformly is by restricting everybody instead of enabling everybody. So I do not want us to go into the listing of things that we authorize administration or site leaders to approve. We will miss some things, and that's a human being behind it. So I am supportive of a single authority rather than sites to deal with this. And if we get too many requests, we will adjust the policy, we will deal with it. But until then, this is not a problem. So I'd rather have a more permissive policy until we discover that there is an issue with it, and then we deal with that issue.
I guess for me, I don't really see the problem you're trying to solve here. I mean, we have a really excellent school district. We are #1 in the Bay Area. We have a number of alternative programs. I mean, our students I'm not hearing from students that they want to if you can, it's a public school. It offers a huge array of classes. Looking at that 4 years of English, you can take a number of different English classes, science, math. I mean, the only things that are more restrictive are health, but that is a state requirement. You can't get out of that one. And then civics and economics are also state requirements. So a lot of these either have a number of options or state requirements. So you can actually, and also, as far as the floor goes, if you take these classes, you will actually achieve most of the A through G requirements. So I think.
Well, I thought I offered an example of how my own child benefited from being able to take a class online. Otherwise, they would not be able to have a job in the summer. I'm sure that circumstance applies to many students who greatly benefit from keeping a full-time job rather than taking a summer class. Now, that circumstance is going away with the change we made to ethnic studies. My point is that was an example that hopefully indicates that we cannot possibly consider every circumstance. So the only ask, I agree that we are an excellent school district. So the circumstance under which students will benefit from taking an online course or a course outside of a district, doesn't have to be online, will be rare. Give administration explicit permission to make the decision. That's all that they're being asked for, and treat students in a way that supports their success.
Okay. So I think I'm going to call a vote. There was a vote and there's a.
Are we voting on the amendment?
Yes, because it's now.
Vote on the amendment. If it passes, then this will be based upon, then the next vote will be on the policy as amended.
Can I just ask one more question? Because I'm actually pretty mixed on this in terms of everything I'm hearing. And part of it is because it's not clear to me at what frequency this would be needed. And what I do feel strongly about is implementing something with consistency across the district. I think we've had too many inconsistencies, so I feel strongly about that. But how much flexibility, I'm a little mixed on, and I do think it's important to protect the integrity of what it means to have an MVLA diploma. So can you just give a little more information on why this was the proposal versus having a little bit more flexibility?
After seeing that there were some exceptions made, after seeing what our original practice was trying to enforce, which was any class taught within the district could not be taken outside the district for any reason. And that's probably why there was latitude. This pulls back that practice to just the core educational program that has to be taken here. So that's why we started with this. Or that's why we reduced it down to this core program. I will tell you that if left up to me, which is what we're suggesting, summer job would not be an extenuating circumstance. It would have to be something of a significant nature whereby the student could not take a class within our program. So there might be a lot of requests. Now, I haven't been an MVLA for very long, but I've been here long enough to know there is a lot of expectations regarding exceptions for certain students. And I don't feel comfortable making exceptions. I don't think our policies will be enforced. But if the board says that they want it to come through me, that's fine. But those exceptions would have to be significant. I think if you leave it up to me, there are people that will still come to the board and ask for an exception. And appeal those decisions.
So one value that having that door would allow you to have is see what those exceptions are. If you close a door, people won't even come. So many people were challenged with ethnic studies. The student members of the board have highlighted that challenge of delaying ethnic health to 12th grade. They are not even considering asking site leaders or administration for opportunities to take it elsewhere because they assume it's forbidden. It's not allowed. It actually takes effort to argue your case. You want to know when something is preventing student success rather than telling them you have no chance of asking for things because we explicitly forbid it. Then people won't come to you. They will deal with whatever issue exists, and you won't even know, and you won't be able to mitigate it. This is an opportunity for students to be heard.
Okay, I think everyone has
Call the que- I think we should
let's
call
call
the
the question. Okay, so we have the vote. So all in favor?
Of what?
The amendment.
To add the word supervisor.
Yes,
exception.
supervisor exception. All superintendent.
I'm sorry,
Excuse me.
superintendent.
Yes, so all those in favor of the wording, which you can add later, but basically the superintendent can make an exception. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Okay, so that did not pass. Okay.
So now I move that we approve the original thing. By the way, there's nothing cast in concrete as in regulations can be changed if we find the need to it when there's too many people coming with possible exceptions and we're not accepting them. We can have a list of them and then we can change our policy at that, there are a regulation at that time, but at least we can codify what we're going to do for right now.
Right.
So I move that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
That's
Okay.
May 2nd.
I just make a brief comment. So, I raised concerns at the first reading because health is a core student support, and I was uncomfortable shifting responsibilities to families. My concern remains, but I also recognize the scheduling constraints created by the change in graduation requirements and the need to address the temporary bubble of current students. This proposal does establish health as a core class, and I also received information from our superintendent that almost all incoming ninth graders chose to take health at their high school, and that staff is exploring ways to expand district supervised options. That direction addresses my concern by keeping health under district oversight. because of that new information and the importance of moving forward, especially at this time of night, I will support the current proposal. All right, so are you ready to vote?
One quick comment, sort of a little bit similar to yours. In my ideal case, we actually start with giving much more choice and freedom to students, and then as needed, tighten it up. It looks like we don't have support for that. I do think this is completely legitimate and good for students to take core MVLA classes at MVLA. And so I'm going to amend my vote accordingly based on that.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to call the question. I think we had, sorry, do we had, you, it was motion.
I
by
made a
you.
motion
Do we
and
have-
Esme seconded
Okay,
to
so it's
adopt the
motion
original.
by Catherine, seconded by Esme. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? Okay, so that's 4-1. With Vadim opposed.
Cats.
Okay, all right, so now.
President Corns, I suggest, that, and given that the hour, we have to, this is our last chance to vote for the CSBA Delegate Assembly, and we have to do the interim budget. Items 13.4, 13.5, 13.6 can be tabled to next meeting if you suggest that and if it's approved by a vote.
Okay, so you heard the suggestion by the superintendent. We also do have to vote to extend the meeting because I don't think we can do everything in 5 minutes.
I vote to extend to the extent that Mr. Volta said, just for these two items that absolutely need to be done by statute now, and then
Okay,
the
and
others to the next time.
And can we, you also need to vote to extend the meeting by half an hour because,
Okay,
or
I
shorter.
said that at the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry
Let's
about that.
extend it to only include these two things.
Right, but sorry, but the vote also has to explicitly say that we're going to extend
Certain
it by
time
half an
till
hour.
11 o'clock.
Yes.
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 All right.
That's what I was asking for. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, all right. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's,
So we
Are
haven't
you voting?
discussed, yeah, but we haven't discussed the class proposal. I have concerns if we don't approve this class proposal, what will happen? Do we have enough time to vote on this later?
This class is already being offered in our school. We've already had it set up. This was an oversight from 3 years ago of not approving that course. We haven't had any issues with the course, but it does need to be approved by the board. It's not going to stop anything if we wait 2 weeks to bring this back to you.
yes, so just to reiterate what the superintendent said is the items that we're postponing, it will not affect the operations of the district. So that's why we're postponing them to the next meeting. All right, so now having said that, let's move on to 13.2, which we do have to vote on.
Yeah.
Which is the CSBA Delegate Assembly nominations. Catherine.
I have a lot to say. Well, I have something to say about this because I've known all these people for quite a few years by now and been on with CSBA meetings with them all along. A couple of them have been the president of this Santa Clara County CSBA during that period. They're all actually pretty good candidates. However, I feel that a balance between new people and letting somebody else on for a change is a good idea. So, and I also think that it's nice to have somebody from the County Office of Education. So that would be Jessica. Then there's 3 other current incumbents. One, the write-in candidate, which was in our packet, of Carol Przunka, and she has been a past president of the local chapter also. And so I would probably pick Jessica and Carol as the current ones, and I would let the 2 new people in. William, he's been very big in our legislative action committees and quite a good advocate for that. And Elizabeth brings a perspective of the high school district, so I think that's a good one too.
Tid, I'm curious how we are going to handle the voting. If I remember correctly, last year it was really hard to identify sets that's aligned with everyone, so we actually voted name by name.
Yeah, I think we should probably do that this time too.
Actually, if she wanted to move those 4 people.
I
you
moved
could
those 4
take-
people,
you could-
William, Elizabeth, Jessica, and Carol to write in.
Okay. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right,
Do you
do you want to call the
I wanna
question?
switch one, so like now it doesn't allow
Okay.
you to do that.
All right,
I think
so.
we can vote on this and then. if it
Yeah, you
doesn't
can vote.
pass-
So let's call the question. Okay, so it was moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme, and the candidates were
William, Elizabeth, Jessica, and Carol.
Okay, all right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Two of
all,
us.
okay, all opposed? Okay, so that does not pass. We're not gonna like, until we come up with a final list, I'm not gonna tally. All right, so does anyone want to propose? I have a different proposal.
Okay.
So I think they're all great too. I also know all of them. Although I have a different thing. I think CSBA like us is always trying to improve, and I do think it's moving in the right direction. I've especially seen their conferences improve, so I'm actually not looking for a change in direction. And since we're only electing 4 delegates to represent us statewide, my main criteria is actually prior experience or incumbency. Therefore, I'd like to vote for the incumbents, which are Isabel Gubez Flameric, Jody Muirhead, Jessica Spicer, and write-in incumbent Carol Persenka. So that is my proposal.
The only I won't say objection, but the reason I would like to replace one of the incumbents with William is because, for sure, is because he's been so active in the legislative and such a good advocate for CSBA and school boards.
I think
in Sacramento and in our the committee work here. So he does have a lot of experience. It's just not as an incumbent as a delegate.
Yeah, I also +1 to Derek, so
Okay. So it sounds like I'm not going to get a second. So do you want to propose something else?
I'm
that
happy
might-
to propose.
Okay.
So I will propose, and we spoke a bunch of different people. I'll propose William, Elizabeth, Jody, and Jessica. For honestly a mix of the reasons that you guys have already mentioned. So yeah, that's what I'm proposing. Does anyone want a second?
Who was it?
William, Elizabeth, Jody, and Jessica. I guess Derek, yeah.
No second.
I could be okay with that. So it's it.
Shall we what?
Did you repay those?
Yeah, we will, because.
Derek, Elizabeth, Jody, Jessica. Shall we what?
Well, it's William Derek.
William Derek,
Yeah.
sorry.
I want to make sure we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. And
you
you
call for a
second,
vote?
did you second it?
No.
Vadim second.
Okay.
sorry.
Will you call for a vote?
Okay, call for a vote. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, fine, I'll vote. Let's just, okay,
Alright.
so that passes. All right, great. So now we move on to our interim budget. Or our second interim budget, excuse me.
The truncated version of what's in front of you is the whole puppy. You know, a lot of this is informational, it's really the Reader's Digest, the very detailed budget packet that you have, line. So, we did prepare some additional slides, just to put in context, if we pull the curve back, what goes on behind the scenes. But we'll most likely discuss it the next time that we present. So with that, I will pass it on to Elvis to talk about briefly the contest process.
So this is a reference slide. pretty much saying why we do our budget, 84,400, we pretty much do it every year. And for reference. Currently, we're on second interim, which is be by market, the county. This is a data based on from January 31st. So anything up to pretty much 60% of the year that we've done, the data that we pulled out. And this is due to the county March 15th. Budget revisions. This is a kind of the big kind of thing we do. We work with 3 platforms. Analytic, it holds 83% of our budget, which is all of our personnel. UCC, which is Central School System, that's where we get our check from the county office. And SACS is the software we have to upload to from the state that can tell us if we're doing our accounting correctly or they're doing changes of correct. Kind of the PowerPoint is that I actually meet with everyone on our school sites, but departments and everyone to kind of figure out the budgets and analyze where we're at. So a lot of this takes a lot of time. We move everyone at school sites. The departments, directors, everyone that we have all the ones who have to do it. I don't do the value of This is the next slide. Just kind of reference of where we get our revenue from. We get some of our stuff from our SAPA, which is our special monies. So they give us the revenue at bottom end. That's most of the revenue we get. Then we get county office assessors, which is the property taxes. We get that every month about spending, and we meet 3 times a year with directly what we're trending for the current year. That's what we get a revenue. The last piece is school services, dartboard. That has other percentages, which we have consumer price index or COLA, which is cost of living, and any other numbers that we need. A lot of this data is more likely very basic, so we can find it on software. Like I said, I mentioned the January 31st cutoff. And to do all this, this is a multiple upload of stats. This is not just one time and done. We grab this data multiple times and upload every single time. So for every time we do an interim, we upload 4 times on a daily basis and keep uploading until we clear out any errors that our stacks tell us. If there's errors, stacks will tell us go back and fix it before we do anything. That is criteria review is a 32-page sheet we do. That includes everything of what our changes are to it first, second, third, and everything else. So all of that analysis is then compromised down to smaller details, so then we have to justify there's huge swings on why this was happening and what it is. This is our overview from 25-26 revenues with our spreadsheets. As you can tell, unrestricted, again, like I said, unrestricted is very flexible with our flexible monies. Restricted has ties. Those ties are based on what the regulations tell us or the county says or what the money for. And at the far right is our totals for everything combined together. You can tell we have a $151 million budget combined with everything. Again, this is our expenses. Majority of our expenses are here. Like I said, 80%, 85% is all salaries for everyone at the top. Everything else is on the bottom. This is the show score of condensed form. You guys have the all-fun spreadsheet. This is everything on the left side combined together. This is a very quick overview, very top level look. You guys have the one that has more details of what it is combined. The thing we want to focus on is we still have a positive of $420,000 on our funding flexibility account. We can whatever all the restricted side money that we have that we're spending down for stuff we have for one-time money we got. We got 1.3 this year. We probably end up getting more because there's talks about it, but we don't know yet if it's going to come through. So a lot of this is money we have in the bank that we're restricted that we're spending down. And this is how it's all contained. If you look at the very top line, the beginning balances, and our bottom is a big ending balances. That we're $420,000 increase on our unrestricted side. Restricted side has money left over for one-time Prop 28. Golden State Pathways and other funds and grants that we have from that left over to spend the following year. Our reserve levels, board said 72%. We need it by $167,107, the exact number. So we are meeting our board reserve 70% of the goal. First interim. This is our variances. This is any changes of what's changed from first interim when it came to you in December to now. And so there wasn't much changes, so our numbers are pretty accurate, pretty solid. So there's not many changes happening. Moving slow, everything is around us, it's not moving as much as we trend, but we are tracking with the numbers that we think we have person, so there isn't much changes at all. Same thing with our expenses. This is what we work with everyone here in the Memphis School Department with personnel on continuous on staffing. He says again, these are small changes. You'll see the changes are not huge things anywhere that you can say, well, that, but you should catch that. This is changes that happen little by little as we go through the year, but there's no huge changes that we've had in the past. Again, this is the differences of change balance. We are actually 21,000 more second round than we were first second, or 1,000 21,000. This is our historic trend of revenues as a whole have come up to. Right now, we're at 1.3%. The other high swing of 12, that's when we see COVID money, multiple rounds of COVID money, multiple buckets, and stuff happens. So this is kind of where you see the swings. This is not based on property taxes, it's based on everything as a whole. Our LCFF money that we get from the state, 2.9 million, has never changed. That's in here, later 20 something years, got over it, so the same. So the numbers continue to be the same, doesn't increase at all. So a lot of that we see is not doesn't show exactly what our property tax will show. It shows as a whole of all of our revenues combined together. This is the trend of special ed. Again, it shows what we tend to do for special ed. It's gonna be how much money we get from revenues for special ed, how much we spend out, and the contribution from their fund to special ed. Special education includes multiple funds, so there's a lot of other. It's not just one special. There's other. There's more to dissect. There's either mobility, other stuff that's involved in special. This is a holistic look at everything combined together, not just the special. Significant changes, like I said, there are not a whole lot of changes. Security taxes went up by 90,000. Unsecurity tax went up by 221,000. There was a decrease in our self-help revenues from the first interim. So, like I said, there's not huge changes coming out of it. Some of the mid-year retirement resignations we have accounted for. So we've actually putting people on higher people because they've gone on resignation, going back to retire and we've gone on sick leave. We accounted for those. And positions we've eliminated because we don't no longer need the position. So a lot of this is pretty much we're tracking where we are. Many huge changes happening. I'll pass it to Mike.
This five-year transition, you think about where we are this year, right? I'm gonna emphasize it's showing a surplus, a fund balance increase at the moment of $480 fund balance, right? Our counterparts all across the state are giving second interim budget presentation by the March 15th deadline. I can guarantee that many of them have a very different tone and tenor than what we're discussing presenting here on MVLA. So a big takeaway we want to emphasize is, as much as revenue growth is smaller this year than the years past, and we're adjusting and the district-wide figuring out what that looks like. We're still in a positive place in terms of ability to maintain all of our programs, cover all of our expenditures in the current year, given all the expenditures we have. So let's not forget that, especially when we see various districts near and far who are looking at deficits, reductions, layoffs, school closures, things like that. Part of the component of the budget is looking at the future. And again, we've formatted this with from the 3 different years, as well as the assumptions we've really copied and pasted from the budget book in the slide deck. I think just the thing to point out, if you look at the unrestricted, especially revenue on that top line, that's really the significant thing that's changed. Revenue and restricted, especially state, federal, other areas, doesn't change much. Some places it's identical, and to Elvis's point about 1.3% total revenue growth, that shows up in these places. The only thing that's increasing, or we're assuming is increasing, is the local property taxes. And that our assumption we're using is 3.5% in 26-27 and 3%. Right? And that's consistent with the projections we're getting in the county assessor's office and what's happening in the world. Right? State revenue is obviously when it stays flat. Other revenue goes up by the cost of living adjustment, but that's only some of our federal and other state revenue. Shoreline money stays flat, foundation money stays relatively flat. So that's the things we're navigating. That is, a large part of our revenue increase less than the years before, and other revenue stays flat. Here's some high forward what you. It was 7, 6, 5 was the conservative estimate in the third year. We in fact even coming this year, we're budgeting 5 and we're coming at 3.97 for this year. So yeah, to Mr. Voltz's point, numbers of 3.5 and 3 are much lower than what we saw in prior year. And again, a lot of that, as we said before, is commercial property value more than this. And that's where we see the drag in this one. So do still see revenues going up year over year. Expenditures, we built in slight staffing changes based upon enrollment, based upon program changes, but really a lot of the staffing increase. Just to turn the page, it's 1.5% increase in salaries. Every teacher moves over down a step because of the years of experience, and as they move over a column, that's reflected. And when we see these salaries increase every year, it's not more people necessarily, it's just same people cost more. And then there's statutory costs that go with those salaries. So, the retirement costs at 19.1% or 19.1% on higher salaries, on higher dollar. So that's the cost drivers you see as we look at the out years. But really what we emphasize and focus on is what's happening at fund balance. We are showing an increase when we look at unrestricted, right? Also, we explain restricted, and that's very specific dollars, and we spend money that we got in the prior year. But on the unrestricted side, we see it's growing. $1.7, $1.8 million increase, $1.9 million increase to the unrestricted fund balance is healthy. But the big caveat is that does not include any built-in salary schedule increases or any other unknowns that are out on the horizon. So here's the assumptions on which we base those numbers. Again, this is repeated from what's in the federal growth. We've already mentioned the secured property tax growth, the cost of living adjustment number, you get the reference, as I was mentioning, you get that from the school service start board. And then I already mentioned the step and call movement. But that's a big driver. Again, just turning the page, those costs are up. That's helpful to understand in terms of our budget process. Again, this slide is more reference points, just so you all understand. And when people are asking in the community, like, gosh, what's going on with expenses? There's some background knowledge of all the expenses that do with salaries, how we calculate for the inflation for the non-personnel costs. Okay. So
next slide, this is the top 1% increases. For reference on negotiations every year. This is where it's at. It's $1 million. This is the output section. Yeah.
Whoa.
Read it. I'll put it back.
I'll take that budget.
No. This is the output spreadsheet. This is as I mentioned earlier. This has all broken down. Everything that it is.
Yeah.
This is all for your viewing. We have the next computer smaller than that version. And then when we do the road ahead, again, we monitor property taxes growth. We run over the assumptions of 3.5. This trend is less of that. Right? We continue to look at what we get from the state, if it's forthcoming or not, and if not, then we'll go do with half. Continue negotiation with the CACA. Continue to work with education services, personnel services. With ourselves with utility, because I meet with us like 2 hours all the time. Because of her budget, and she's firmly so do that. She has money there. We're consistently talking to my staff, and we'll consistently on it on our own. We're on an audit team that we're all being audited. Again, we are always working together with all of the firms. Not a single person, everyone working together. And then begin working on 26.7 budget and outcome development. That's our next thing. That will be in June for the next stuff. So that's kind of stuff. Again, this is a reference to all the accounts that you have on the audit sheet, kind of broken down of what it is. The awesome thing that we work with every day. So kudos to everyone on this list. Everyone takes a part of the together. Everything from different budgets to that's what you want to call it. And that is what's in there.
I had one question,
Catherine?
and that is, this does not include, after the negotiations, the salary increase, which would be retroactive. And we have to give people from the last year, or no?
Correct. We're still in negotiations. Nothing's been settled.
But that would
Correct.
appear in this year's column,
If-
not in next year's
If
column.
the settlement was reached that was retroactive, then yes, it would appear this year.
But did we already give them a salary, an increase for this year?
At the end of last year, we approved, ratified a 4% increase retroactive to January 3rd of 2025. So it was in half of last year, equated out to 2% in the last year, and then that extended through this year.
And that's already in here. That's already in here, but not for next year. Okay. Or is it not in here for half of,
No, it's in-
for the whole year?
That's now the new base, and that's the salary
Okay,
schedule.
right. I
Salary.
just want to make sure
Oh, yeah, that's all.
where we're increasing to, from. All right. So we have to make some motion about this?
Yes, but I wanted to ask if anyone else had any questions or
Yeah.
comments. Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I do want to. Resolution, to accept the second interim budget report and revisions. And that the district will be able to meet its financial obligations for 25-26 fiscal year.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Vadim. All in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. Okay, so now we vote to adjourn the meeting. Unless you want to continue on for the next 10 minutes, I think we want to go home, right? So
I think there's no.
do I have a
I move to
vote?
adjourn.
Okay, all right, so I have a second. Okay, moved by Catherine, seconded by Esme. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you.